Are we going? Straight up?
Yep.
Whoa!
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Wall Tactics. We're here talking about the new Ork Index. This is fantastic. This is a very fun index. It reminds me of the 8th edition Codex, not the 8th edition Index, but the 8th edition Codex to a certain extent due to the fun and flexibility of the rules and the stratagems. So let's go over these rules, starting with the army-wide rule, the wall.
All right. If your army faction is Orks, once per battle, at the start of your battle round, you can call a WAAAGH. If you do until the start of the next battle round, Ork units from your army are eligible to declare a charge in the turn in which they advance, and you add 1 to strength and attack characteristics of melee weapons equipped by Orks models. And then they also gain a 5-up invulnerable save. How do you feel about the slight change in the WAAAGH?
Well, everyone is a Goth now. Everyone got the update to the wall rule that everybody got during 9th edition. Initially, the book wasn't as good. It didn't give like an invuln, such a good invuln. Even though the difference with this one is that it does not last for 2 turns. So some people might be very upset about that, but overall, I really like it, and it's very orky. What else do you want? Just to be an orc goth and just run in there and smash.
I want more WAAAGH. That's what I want. 2 turns. Let's go, GW.
More wall.
All right, as you're mentioning, they get the detachment roll, get stuck in. Melee weapons equipped by Ork models from your army have the sustained hits 1 ability.
And this is why they are goths, essentially, from all the other additions and indexes, codex / exploding 6s. Let's go. More hits. This is mathematically +1 to hit, right?
Yeah, keep it simple for melee army. Don't gotta do anything extra. Just give me more hits.
That's all we need.
All right, starting with stratagems. The first one here, 1 CP, Kareen. At any phase, just as after an Orcs vehicle unit from your army with the deadly demise ability is destroyed, that destroyed Orcs vehicle unit, if you roll a 6 for its deadly demise ability, you can use this stratagem on that unit even though it was just destroyed. Then your unit can make a normal move or fallback move before its deadly demise ability is resolved. And before any embarked units from an emergency disembarkation, when making this move, your unit can move over enemy units, excluding monsters and vehicles, as if they were not there.
I'm glad they brought this back, and they made it even better. It's very fun, very orky. Let's go. The fact that you can go over and through enemy models is going to be very disappointing for your enemy opponents when they see that 6 being shown on the dice.
Yeah, you go from 1 second thinking, exploded in your enemy's face, and now you get to move it into their face and possibly touch some of their models.
I love it. Love it.
All right, next one, Orks is never beaten. In the fight phase, just after an enemy unit has selected its targets, 1 Orks unit from your army that was selected as a target of 1 or more of the attacking unit's attacks. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit is destroyed, if that model has not fought this phase, do not remove it from play. The destroyed model can fight after the attacking model's unit has finished making its attacks. Then it's removed from play.
Orcs is never beaten. Very straightforward. We deserve that strat. It's very orky. You hear about it on lore all the time where the orc's on his way out being killed and he lands another blow on his opponent, which leads the opponent to eventually be to his demise as well. So love it. Very straightforward. Not just Marines.
Yeah, Orks is never beaten. You can say that again. Because literally that applies to any Orcs unit, not just characters.
Not just infantry.
Yeah, that's big. I'll take that.
Sorry, guys.
All right, next one. 1 CP, unbridled cartage. In the fight phase, 1 Orcs unit from your army that has not been selected to fight this phase until the end of the phase. Each time an Orcs model in your unit makes a melee attack, an unmodified hit roll of 5 up plus scores a critical hit.
This used to be 2 CP and it was for Goths. So I really like that. Let's go. Even more hits, even more wall.
Man, you put this on unit of boys with all those attacks.
And volume, right? We know this from 8th edition back when Orcs had no AP, right? Everybody's freaking out. Oh, look at the lack of AP. Hey, guess what? If you played 8th edition Orcs, you didn't have it to begin with. So you knew death by attrition, death by just volume attacks. I put the wounds on you, and eventually you're going to roll enough saves that you're going to die. So this helps, and now that it's only 1 CP, that's what we want. That's really what we want.
Yeah, and it showed in 8th edition that volume can get through those annoying 3-ups invulnerable saves that used to be prominent back then.
Yep.
So now that they're back in a few data sheets, I don't think orcs have any.
I'll tell you
to
what,
worry about.
people hated those 3-up invulns back in the day. But considering the only thing I owned was Orc Boys, literally, I didn't know the difference because I just ran in there and punched people out. They were like, oh no, my 3-up invuln. And I was like, well, I didn't know I had no AP to begin with, right? So this, if you played Orcs long enough, you'll know that this is fine. You'll still be able to just run in there and hit people, and that's why this makes it even better. Wow. Talking to you, Marines.
Hard as nails, 1 CP. Your opponent's shooting phase or the fight phase just after an enemy unit has selected as targets. 1 Orks unit from your army that was selected as the target of 1 or more of the attacking unit's attacks until the end of the phase. Each time an attack targets your unit, subtract 1 from the wound roll. You cannot select a vehicle or aggression unit.
This used to be a warlord trait for a character, and now it's just anybody in your army. Reader and Weep Death Guard. I'm sorry, just everybody in general. You know, you durable armies out there. A horde is coming in with this durability. I know Tyranids, they have the 5 Feel No Pain. This is nasty. This can go on units that are already quite durable, and just ignore whatever people are trying to do to you because this is going to be small arms fire to be exact.
Yeah, we're going to see plenty of data sheets that will benefit from this extreme. Mob rule for 1 CP in your command phase. 1 mob unit from your army that contains 10 or more models and is not below half strength until the end of the phase, while a friendly orc infantry unit is within 6 inches of that mob unit. That orc infantry unit can still be selected as the target of your stratagems, even though it's battle shocked.
So it's very cool that we have a way to go around morale and get away from battle shock, but this is very limited to 1 mob, keyword mob unit, and you have to be within 6 inches of it, and the unit has to be above half strength. So this might be one of the only strats I'm not in love with, and you know, it is what it is. When it comes up, that'll be cool. If you build towards a tier list, that'll be great. But as for what it is, you know, it's good. It's just not as good.
I don't think it's going to come up too often, but it will be something nice to have for when the rare situation does come up.
Yeah.
I believe this is the only type of rule or stratagem I've seen of its kind.
I've seen them in other indexes where you get to ignore. Yeah, you get to find. There's rules that get away from it, but I'm just glad that we have it. It's cool that we have it. If attrition becomes a real problem, you know, battle shock becomes a real problem, then it is what it is. Also, can we say hello to Chris Tech in the house today before he leaves to get some food? And if Frank's in the house, Frank, can you write in chat, my friend? Tell us how we sound. Tell us what's going on. Yeah, usually you say something by now. And usually you say something by now, Frank, and I'm just making sure you're okay. I'm going to look.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from any of you guys.
Whoever is in there. I mean, I think it's Frank.
Chris Tech, if you have some words before you do.
Say hello to your friends. Say them to the audience.
Just say what?
Doesn't matter, dude.
Come on, man. Feel the energy in
This is our grop.
Honestly, after going through these indexes, it looks like Xenos are at the top of the class in some areas, so I think it's a good addition for Xenos in general. It's really like Gene Zero Cults, Necrons, or just a lot of volume of fire that'll get through a lot of that. It was like tougher -1 AP kind of shit. It's a lot of AP 0 that might just put work in.
You remember how that was, right, Chris Tech? Back when the 8th edition of No.
Tesla boys.
Let's go. Yes, sir. Have you seen Frank talk in there yet?
No, we have not gotten any.
Whoever's in chat. Yeesh.
I'll be honest, this is the only Xenos index I read.
Oh my goodness.
I do not regret it. This is a great index to start out. All right, we'll move on to the enhancements. First one we got is Follow Me Lads. Orc models only. While the bearer is leading a unit, add 2 inches to the move characteristic of models in that unit. How do you feel about that one?
Sorry, I was sharing the links to the website because people liked our post. So I was just trying to get it out there. 2
models in the
This is one you're just either going to take. The Orcs went up in 1 inch of movement baseline, unlike other units, right? We went from 5, now we're 6 inches, now we're 8 inches with someone in there. Hello, what's up? With all the other speed improvements we're getting, with the ability to dismount to vehicles and get out and charge, hello, that's great. Let's go. If you can put that on someone, why not? That's exactly what we want as orcs. Pressure, 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 speed, get in your face, constantly smash.
Yeah, I love it. It's gonna be taking a lot. Next one, cunning but brutal. Orcs model only. While this bear is leading a unit, that unit is eligible to shoot and declare a charge in a turn in which it fell back. So,
Okay, I like it. It's good flexibility. The kind of units that are going to stay alive. Mega knobs have good staying power. Overall, if you have the nice right combos in, you have good staying power. So if it's not costing too much on an enhancement and you have a nice diversity of characters, you might be able to fit this one in on a unit that you think is going to be working that side of the field. So
yeah, and you can
and has
pop the
ability.
-1 wound on that unit if you needed to survive to do this.
Yep.
Next one is the Head Wappa's Kill Choppa. Orcs model only. Melee weapons equipped by this bear do not have the extra attacks ability. Instead, they have the devastating wounds ability. That could be nice, like on a beat stick character.
That's exactly what that is. This is just for your beast stick character, and you want to put this on your beast boss on Squigosaur most likely. If you're playing a smaller game, maybe you want to put it on a war boss with the claw. When he gets into the wall, he's gonna go up and have even more killing potential. So yeah, that'll be great. Oh,
Oh, and
hello,
got
Frank
James in the
Russo.
chat.
We got Frank Russo. We got Jim. So Jim, you might want to pay attention here because these boys are coming for your Dark Angels and you too, Ultramarines. So let's see what else is going on here in chat. Thanks for joining us, guys. I was trying to get some posts on Facebook groups, see if we can get those numbers up today. That's what I'm looking to do. So hopefully,
Yeah, you
let's see
guys
what
have
happens.
your hands full with these orcs, Space Marine players out there.
And if the points are right, you guys are definitely gonna have your hands full. If they don't overprice the weirdest things, I can see Marines getting a problem because they're so happy to have the new armor saves and such, and the orcs are really just not going to care about that, and they're going to have a lot of feel no pains. That's what you're going to see a lot in this army. I don't know if you guys have looked through it, but a lot of feel no pains in this army in a fun way. So this army's fun. I don't think it's OP. I don't think it's broken. I think it's on that line of thematically powerfully strong.
All right, last enhancement before we move on is the Super Cyborg Body. Orcs model only. The bear has a feel no pain 4-up ability.
So this one doesn't stand out as much as Head Wappa's Chill Choppa or the Follow Me Lads, but depending on what you end up building your army around, hey, you might want that character that's very durable. So hey, it's all good.
Yeah, it's hard. These other ones are just
Yeah.
too good. I'd have to put it fourth on the list.
So then, well, I think the clear winner is Head Wappa's Kill Chopper and Follow Me Lads are the number 1 and 2 in my opinion. But Follow Me Lads might just be taken by a mass variety of people because delivery, pressure, consistency is orcs is what you're gonna see and what you're gonna need. So Frank Russo said, haven't had much time to look at it, been at work, been busy. So this weekend's gonna be a lot of research. Yes, it is for everybody. Even we haven't got through every single new index that is dropped because we're trying to make sure we see combos, know them by heart, considering where we're going to have to know them to talk about the tiers and ranking system that we're going to do with that. And that being said, it's just exciting and gives us a lot to do. So,
right, Frank. And you came to the right spot, Frank, to learn about orcs because we're going to cover it all.
Yes, sir. So whether you're an orc player or not, it's okay to know your enemy a bit because I know you and we know you because, hey, we're a fan of Gorg and Mork. So,
if you don't know your enemy, you don't know yourself.
So let's see what the next one is.
Here's a nice little graphic.
Nice little graphic. Everybody looking at it. Bam.
Yeah. All right, in alphabetical order here.
Battle wagon. So this is something I really, really like. I really like my personal battle wagon. So of course I'm favored towards this one, right? Everybody has that motto that you're like, I want an excuse to put it on. I don't need an excuse. So this is looking like a tier, S tier transport, right? It can increase its toughness if you end up closing the firing deck. So if you choose you don't want it to be a firing deck, you just want it to be a transporting missile, you can get this thing up to T12. Okay, T12, and everything can advance in charge. You can put the def roller on it, which I personally most likely will. Some people will go, hey, it doesn't hit on 2s anymore. That's okay. It's still very powerful. Strength 9. Oof. So
I'm liking his durability here too. T10, 16 wounds, and the ramshackle but rugged rule where you reduce AP by 1.
Hey, that is very, very nice. We see the last cannon and some of these also anti-vehicle weapons aren't have as much AP as you've seen in earlier editions. So now that this one innately just drops it, that's going to really bother Marines. They're going to put Oath on it for that reason in itself, and it's going to take more firepower on it on Oath. It might take everything that they got to take that one transport down. That's what I'm saying. It's an S tier, it's premier, and it's built in additional durabilities, whether you can choose to opt into it or not. And depending on the points and the war gear, is GW going to make us get war gear and pay for all of these things or not? As you can see when it says what models it is equipped with, it is just tracks and wheels. But it can have everything else from the guns to the lava to the wrecking balls. So for fun, maybe you'll bring those, but in reality, you'll see there is a way to make this a very good firing platform, and we'll talk about that. So, yeah, it's something that I haven't seen too much on other channels even. So let's we'll come back to that. So let's move on because we're going to talk about how this is going to be very cool when we talk about another little character that most people don't even use. So right here we got the Beast Snagger Boys. Beast Snagger Boys, 6-up, feel no pain. Eat your heart out, Death Guard. Sorry, Death Guard, if I bring you up a lot. I used to play Death Guard, and I can see what they like to do, and I can see why Orks are kind of doing it a little better. So these guys have the built-in re-rolling wounds and hit rolls against monsters and vehicles, but as you can see, if you can read numbers, they're going to be wounding most things on 6s. So not in love with that, but I am in love with the 6-up feel no pain, the fact that Orks now got another additional movement, the fact that the Orks now have additional armor save. These are all going to be things that are pretty freaking awesome. So I think these are going to be more of your battle line. You're going to see a lot of Grots, and you're going to see Beast Snagger Boys. If you see battle lines at all that are full of boys, I think most people are going to come in with what we would used to call elites or stronger infantry, such as knobs, mega knobs, to find ways to get them up the field faster and keep the pressure on. And when you have points left over, you're trying to reach that certain number, that's where you'll put in some cheaper Beast Snagger Boys in. So I'm already saying that I think these are going to be the most common frontline battle line troop.
Yeah, I just kind of wish that their ability made a little more sense for the role that they're going to play in the game.
Yeah.
You're not going to send them into monsters and vehicles. Like you said, the strength just isn't there. You're wounding on 6s.
Yeah, you can have strats that you want to put in and such, like we've seen, but we'll see. Let's move on from this. But everybody knows these are going to be the number one battle line. They're very fun. They're very cool. I'm really into it. I'm glad I got 30 painted up. So, Beast Boss. So Beast Boss, I think these are one of the characters that didn't get as much as a glow up as you would want. He's not at the place where you want to be. So it says, do any of these elites have OC2? So far, not that what I've seen, but as we go through it, we'll keep an eye out for that, Christian. And here with the Beast Boss, if you want to look at his abilities real quick, David, and then we'll look at his combat ability because he's someone, like I said, that I think is not hitting.
Right. So he comes with his own 6-up feel no pain. Again, we see that.
Only T5.
While this model's leading a unit, each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack, you add 1 to the hit roll. All right, take that. Each time this model makes a charge move until the end of the turn, melee weapons it is equipped with have devastating wounds ability.
So this is where,
really nice.
yes. So Beast Snagger Boys. So if we can he can be put with Beast Snagger Boys. So this guy, plus as you'll see a mech or a pain boy, depending on the durability you'd like to see. That's how you get the pain boys to come in there and maybe do some more wounds to vehicles in a way that you'd be more appreciative of.
I believe it's only for him.
Is it each time the model makes an...
Yeah, it just says
it's only him. Yeah, exactly. So
well, I mean,
we tried it. No.
Look at his anti-monster 4-up and anti-vehicle 4-up.
Yeah, he does it. He does it. But are you gonna try to deliver a whole Beast Snagger Boys and attach him? The points will tell us. The reason why I bring up the fact that he's only T5 though is because as you see with the Mega Knobs and a lot of other things in this army, they've gone up a pip of toughness. And him looking so bulky, so thick, you would think he'd at least get the toughness. Oh, mic volumes are even. Edley sounds very loud. David sounds very quiet. Oh, that's weird. Okay. And sorry about that, guys. So as we were saying, this guy, he does do his job when it comes to he's trying to hurt and wound vehicles, but he doesn't have great AP because as we see, most vehicles actually have a 2-up armor save. Carnifexes, I like to use Carnifexes as the baseline when I'm talking about killing enemy vehicles because they're similar to a small dreadnought. And when you get to that cusp of am I killing a vehicle or an elite unit, that's where you want to put it. I usually put the Carnifex or a Carnifex equivalent as that very low entry level to I'm destroying vehicles. That being said, he's not even really scaring that many Carnifexes. The thing is, you can choose which profile you want to use. That's nice. But yeah, to me, he's not that many attacks and not that impressive. So
Yeah, we're gonna see a lot of him. Good options at this in this role.
that's the only reason I was digging on him, guys. I think he's a cool model, but he's you're gonna see there's gonna be a lot better options than him, unless anybody wants to bring something up that you know. So of course we're open to all conversations.
All right, next data sheet: Beast Boss on Squigosaur.
Yes.
We got Deadly Demise 1, Feel No Pain 4 up, and his abilities: Here We Go. While a friendly Beast Snaggy unit is within 6 inches of this model, you can reroll charge rolls. And you can target this model with the Heroic Intervention strat for 1 CP, and can even do so if you've already targeted a different unit with that stratagem this phase. Got 5 up built-in invul, so 5 up, 4 up.
Wow. I love that. I love this guy. He got a glow up. He's T10. He's now a 3 up base armor save. He used to be a 4 up base armor save. This toughness 10 instead of a toughness 9 is great. Even strength 5 low arm small arms fires, me winning him on 6s. That's what you want to see. That's really what you want to see with someone who does not have lone operative, because you're going to be able to shoot this guy on his own. Will the enemy want to contribute it? Maybe, depending on what they have. If they're in ultra moment, they could get him. So you have to definitely keep that in mind. But as for just firepower in general, he's at that time. He's at that line of 10 toughness 10 with the 4 up Feel No Pain. Goodness. And as you'll see for his big brother, he has something great too. I like that he re-rolls charges for himself. Yes, and Beast Snaggy units within 6 inches of him, which you will see there most likely will be other Beast Snaggy units within 6 inches of him, as you guys can imagine with the Squig Riders, right? So with this guy, with Beast Choppa, anti-monster 4, anti-vehicle 4, then his jaws have devastating wounds and extra attacks. This guy is going to be tearing apart vehicles. He has 6 attacks. He'll get 7 on the WAAAGH. He gets up to strength 7 because he's going to get +1. This guy, oof, I love it. Do you have anything you have to say? You think so far? Don't want to hog it up.
Oh yeah, no, he's got a great profile. I'd say it's more for your infantry elites, just because the strength. I mean, you could go after light vehicles for sure. There's some
light vehicles
wounding on 4s when you charge.
When you're coming in here for the devastating wounds on this Beast Boss on Squigosaur, right? That guy can pop off and do some great wounds. Like we talked about before, though, the -1 AP could be an issue. But like I said with Orks, you're going to see the -1 AP, just the volume of wounds you're going to be putting on people, exploding 6s, possibly using the 1 CP strat for 5 explodes. You're going to love that. It's going to... I think this is something that could still tear down a Carnifex. So
yeah,
that's why...
Still a lot of attacks.
Yeah,
sure.
It can tear down, especially if it's a little hurt already. This is someone who can come in there solo a vehicle that's already kind of hurt by himself. Not from full, but he can do very good. I like that he re-rolls charges for himself. Exactly. He's going to want that. Orks did lose that as a passive rule and getting all these re-rolls. So the fact that he gives it out, everybody's going to love seeing that again, right?
Agreed. Big Mac and Mega Armor.
Glow up. Nobody brought this guy. Well, excuse me. Not a lot of people brought this guy unless you were severely competitive player in a certain kind of meta, or if you were a really fan of Death Skulls and you really needed that Big Mac on the field, right? So I have him Big Mac painted up, and he does have his force field, and we're going to see why that's great. As you can already see with this guy, with the Big Mac, he doesn't look as bulky as the Beast Boss did, but he's T6, right? And he has a 2-up armor save. The other guy had a 4-up armor save. This is something that you'll see is common, is these guys are getting better toughness against small arm fire like las guns. Are going to be winning them on 6s. That's really cool as an orc, because las guns used to be, that was traditionally a very common anti-orc weapon. They didn't care that they were strengths, that you were T5. They didn't care that you were T4. They don't mind wounding everybody on 5s. But now on 6s, they do care. So I do like that.
Right. He's got some good abilities for supporting whatever unit he's in, allowing reroll hit rolls of 1 for range attacks.
Nah.
Returning 1 destroyed bodyguard to the model in your command phase.
So if you are using range, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but if you are using range
the 4-up
guns,
invul from custom force field as well.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry for jumping in, but I was gonna say for this first ability, the more DACA, the reroll hit rolls of 1 depending on points, you're probably not caring too much about this. As you can see with the other melee weapons, you might just favor kill saws, right? Here you're seeing this -3 AP, right? If you might, depending on who's you're going to put in your other units, who else they can go on your other Mega Knob units. Some guys might have kill saws. I don't like the weapon skill 4. It is lower amount of tax, but the -3 AP and strength 12, which would be 13 on the charge, might be great. But like I said, you don't have a range weapon anymore on that. That's why the more DACA isn't something you care for. As you can see, he can only be put with Mega Knobs anyways, so you're not going to get fancy with other units. Going to get creative with the shooting. His real ability is he's bringing back a bodyguard and the 4-up invuln against ranged units. That's really what you want with Mega Knobs. And I interrupted you. Is there anything else you wanted to enter?
No, that was it.
And you have the Grot Oiler, so you can heal units. So even better for Mega Knobs if they have 3 wounds once per turn, you can even heal people. So he's bringing them back to life and he's healing them. Very, very nice. This guy's going to be a mainstay in most armies because you're going to have mostly likely 2 Mega Knob units if points allow.
Right, the healing and bringing back a model work best on the Mega Knobs with the extra wound.
And the Mega Knobs 2 are T6.
And pop the -1 to wound on them.
Exactly.
They're really hard to shoot.
They are the ones that are really going to be enjoying that the most.
All right, next we got the big mech with the custom force field. Right off the bat, he also has more DACA, and his custom force field is a 5-up against ranged weapons, and once per battle at the start of any phase, he can overcharge his custom force field for a 4-up invul.
So this is who you want to run if you're somebody that's looking to run a nice unit of Ludas, maybe a big unit of boys, where you're looking to take that small alarms fire, really shuck it off, get rid of some of that really damage that you're going to be taking in. You can, in the blobs of boys, you can put in multiple characters. So this is where you can put him and a pain boy in, right? Most people are seeing that. He's not as fancy and such, and he traditionally isn't costing as much as the Big Mac with the armor. So he might sneak into a good amount of lists because some people might want him just for the burner boys. You come out, you're re-rolling wounds, and now you give this guy a 4-up invuln so they don't all just get picked up when they're trying to clear someone. You might actually appreciate that. Not sure if you will, but hey, you never know how people like to play. We them Orks.
Yeah, and then you can add the Grot Helper in there, get that 4-up invul one more time, so 2 times per game.
Very nice. So you're going to use that on the way in. So turn 1, just getting shot up from anybody that has maybe land speeders, can take angles on you, shooting their Gatling guns or their tanks from the repulsors into you. And then again, you're going to do it again. You're going to need it because if an army does get fast, and they're going to want to take angles on you right away before the rest of your force can get there, since this is going to be one of the slower, when I say this is, I mean the mob boys, it'll be one of the slower delivery units on your field.
All right, next one is the big mech with the shock attack gun. More DACA again. He's got deranged snotling assault. In the shooting phase after this model shot, select one enemy unit by one or more of hit by one or more of those attacks, and that unit must take a battle shock test. I mean, his gun is impressive. Strength 9 -4 D6, but it's D6 plus 1 shot, so very unreliable. What do you think?
So I think what's really cool about this guy, it will come down to points like most other things. What I think is actually really cool about him is the fact that he can be attached to 3 mech guns. So it says a unit re-rolling hit rolls of 1, and then he can actually be put with mech guns. So this guy is actually giving re-rolls, hit rolls of 1 to 3 mech guns at once. Right?
Yeah, I just saw that.
So that's very cool. With his profile, of course, because it's swingy, you'll be like, oh, but the fact that he's giving mech guns the ability to re-roll hit rolls of 1, and he's giving you battle shock, so your mech guns, say if you don't really kill, since mech guns aren't that reliable, you're not really killing outright the unit, you're getting them enough casualties that they might fail battle shock, and then you're forcing them battle shock. So I can see why people would go for this, considering mech guns are usually quite cheap. And there's another little small mech we're going to talk about later. We might make your mech guns reliable.
All right, well, we'll just gloss over this one. Big Ed Boss Bunka.
Big Head Boss Bunka.
I don't know anyone that owns one of these. I've never seen one in person.
I actually don't know one of these. I feel ashamed, but it's, something I am striving to get soon. I was just putting up a couple things in the head of the line on QNet, considering this will most likely never see play unless we're playing a narrative game, right? So use my money and things that matter a little bit more. But hey, if you have this, I love you as a person. Love you as an orc.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, our first plane, the Blitzer Bomber. It's got Deadly Demise D3, Boom Bomb. Each time this model ends a normal move, you can select one enemy unit it moved over during that move. Roll 1d6 on a 4-up. That unit suffers d6 mortal wounds. So this one's a lot different from the other planes where you can roll number dice, where this one's just 1d6.
Yeah, it's I'm not thinking the planes are going to be where you're at with the orcs in this codex. The reason they came up in the last other prior editions is because there's a way to buff shooting. With the rules that we have now of rapid ingress, that we can get around the battlefield where you want, the fact that these guys can't get on the battlefield anytime that they want since they're not planes, I don't see them maneuvering the battlefield the way that they used to, because now people can actually move block you as well.
Yeah.
So I'm not a fan too much of planes as a whole. I do own several. They are very fun, as in to look on the battlefield and feel like you're an orc that's coming with rain of firepower. As for someone that's taking a loss as a whole, I think planes are taking a loss on a whole, and I don't think their special abilities are going to counter that. So unless they're dirt cheap, which they most likely will not be, I don't see them getting much play, and they're not taking a lot of space in my heart or mind. But hey, they are what they are.
Yeah, I didn't even see hover on this plane, so you can't even start on the board.
Yeah.
Or come in turn one, I mean.
Yep.
And yeah, GW has been pretty consistent about nerfing what was abusive in 9th edition at one point, and planes were one of them.
And I'm okay with that. I mean,
Yeah, it's fun.
It's a ground and pound battlefield type of game. We already know that if in real life, air support demolishes ground units, and that's what it does in the game as well. So hey, if you can somehow try to nerf that, that's okay, because air support doesn't happen nonstop the entire battle unless one army's winning. So I'm okay with it being completely nerfed. So we got the Boom Daka Snazwagon.
Yeah, the first buggy on the list. Got Deadly Demise 1 and Dust Trails. While an enemy unit is within 6 inches of this model, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, subtract 1 from the hit roll. And has a 6-up invulnerable save built in.
I mean, that's cool, but he's getting within 6 inches of that unit. I mean, you'll see that there's another guy that gives this better. So he's all right. I don't think the buggies as a whole are that durable with the 4-up save and the T7. They did go up in toughness as a whole, but they're not tough enough to be in the meta. They're not even that respectable for someone to care about putting all their anti-vehicle firepower in it. They can just kill you with other stuff that they didn't even care that much about. T7 isn't really that great when you're talking about a vehicle that most likely is going to cost a bit more than you want and doesn't fight the way that you need.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to believe that this vehicle's T7 and we see some infantry with T6.
Mm-hmm.
I think there should be a larger gap.
And
Well, I get it. This is another unit that was abusive at one point in 9th edition. Well, not this one specifically, but
Yeah.
buggies in general. And like we said it earlier, planes, common themes here where GW is just trying to reel them back into.
And good. We want to enjoy the game. I don't see no. I mean, I know people want to play with their toys, but we can play with the rules how we want with the people we want. We care about that a lot on this channel. You play the game how you want to play it with the people you want to play with. This hobby costs a lot to us. It's takes a lot of our time and our heart and our energy. So who we spend it with really does matter. And I like to spend it with people that give me good feedback, physically, emotionally, while I'm playing the game, right? I want someone to give good body language that they're enjoying the game. Don't want stuff to happen that makes them all sad, looking straight down at the dice tray, waiting for you to roll. And that's what a lot of these old rules used to do. So I know you love your models, and I do too. But just, it's okay. I like that GW cares about it enough to mitigate some of these really abusive things.
Right. It's a 2-person experience, and all those intangibles matter.
Yep.
All right. Next data sheet. We got Boss Snickrot. He's an infiltrator, leader, and has stealth. Red Skull Commandos. While this model's leading a unit, models in that unit have the benefit of cover. And once per battle in your movement phase, instead of making a normal move with this model's unit, you can remove it from play and set it up again anywhere in the battlefield that is more 9 inches away from enemy.
So depending on points, but we'll pretend that's not a factor. What I do like about him is that he makes you feel like you can come in with the wave of commandos, really try to kill an actual unit, not just chip at it and have it stare at you. he can actually gives you enough fight ability and kill ability to kill out a unit, and then maybe if you survive, run away. I really think that orcs are gonna work in waves, right? They're gonna bonsai like they do in actual lore, and they're gonna come in with that first wave one, whether it's a bundle of grots, a bundle of commandos, or a straight up turn one WAAAGH, and then behind it is the next wave, maybe squig hog boys and such. So what I'm saying is, depending on points and where you want the strength of that wave 1, 2, 3 is going to be, is if you're going to include someone like this.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be more of a personal choice because you can use this guy to set up another wave. You could deep strike a unit, and then if you want, you can combo the +2 to charge, and you got a 7-inch charge.
Yep.
You know, keeping that pressure on the enemy. So yeah, like you said, it'll come down to points and a little bit of style, like how you like to play.
Yeah, I mean, I believe in waves, and you're gonna see in this. We can play this how you want. I don't think it's very beneficial to play in shooting orcs, to be honest. But there are ways to put shooting in your list, which I like. That way you have a nice little gun line, and then you go up to bam destruction. So Christian says, I feel like T8 is really uncommon. T7 is like bulky infantry usually. Exactly. Custodes walk around with some T7. Orcs are getting kind of close to that. T7 is like a thick infantry, and plasma is strength 8 still. So plasma will look at someone, the leftover plasma someone has in your army will look at these buggies and go, I can kill that. Guardsmen and everything.
Right. It would make sense if it was wounding on forge. That'd be more reasonable.
That'd feel good as an orc player too. It'd look cool as well. You only have a 4-up armor save. You're still not gonna scare people away.
Yeah. Good thing is we got plenty of options in this index to
Yes,
go with.
we do.
Instead.
So don't knock it. Most people say, oh no, not snicker out. Hey, if you want to start with a nice stronger wave 1 commandos or 2 coming in there with commandos, you might want him if you like how yours is painted. So yeah, what other characters?
You'll have some nice energies with the commandos. We'll see on their data sheet.
Mhm.
You know, they can move around the field and relatively be untouched. Or
So let's see the next one. Boss Zagstruck. This guy was one of my personal favorite bully models. I love to bring him in a lot, even before people talked about him too much, because he was a goth beat stick, and I love people that are fast that can advance and charge. So I love how they put his chopper and his claws together. That way you don't have to roll 2 separate things and look at 2 different data sheets. Just let him have 6 attacks, strength 8 -2, 2 damage.
yeah, good way to speed up the game.
He gives
small details.
He gives +1 to, guess what, Storm Boys to hit. That's what you're going to see a lot with orcs. If they are giving a passive benefit, it's going to be a +1 to hit. I like that as an orc player because +1 to hit on top of 6s exploding means you're possibly going above 100% hit, which is what you need, because what you're going to want to do is put a lot of wounds on people with all these great armor saves people are going to be having.
Right. And then he's got the plummeting descent rule. You can reroll charge rolls made for this unit in a turn in which it was set up on the battlefield from reserves.
Yep.
I like the reroll charges. I could do without that condition coming in from reserves.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I guess would ingress? No, you can't combo with ingress.
No,
but still, it'd be better to use a rapid ingress, come in, maximize that 12-inch movement, and then get your charge in.
We still have the ability to get 2 inches from the strat. So that's okay, right?
That's in the beginning of the movement phase. So since the unit's not on the battlefield, I don't think they apply to that.
No, but once you rapid ingress, what I was going to say is you rapid ingress behind buildings somewhere like that, and then you.
Yes. With that one, yes.
That's more of the sense of what I was going to say is when you come down with these guys, you don't have to initially put them on your side of the battlefield, deep strike them behind a building, stage them somewhere. That's why we like rapid ingress now. That's why people love it. Then you give them the strat to move the additional inches. That'll be nice. I do think he's worth you putting all that extra, strat and ability into it, because Stormbots on their own don't hit necessarily super hard, but he comes in there and helps you actually pick up that unit. So something like Scout Marines, where they're going to be a problem, you don't want them to just sit around. You want someone that's going to get close to them, cover a really large distance, and then jump right on top of them. The way in my head as an orc player that I'm thinking is, how can I get to the back lines with someone that's suicidal to gut what's really giving us issues, which snipers would give us issues to a certain extent.
Yeah, you'll be able to eat up those type of units, even some troops screening the backfield.
Yes. So
it's a perfect unit.
Most Marines are going to try to screen you. Most people are going to try to screen you. This makes it so you come up close enough and make that distance and get right in there. Like we were talking about with waves of orcs, how they're going to come in waves. This is another way you want to look at it. Is this wave 1 or 2? Are the Storm Boys coming in 1? Or are they coming in 2 with bikers, etc.? They're riders, right? So whatever you like personally. So what else we got here?
All right, we got the boys, everyone's favorite, the OGs of the index.
I love boys. I was just talking about how that's pretty much all I used 8th edition. I am a little sad that they're not 30. I know some people might be like good because all the abilities that we get. I still wanted to see 30-man blobs. That's just me personally. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, it's just traditionally what you think of when you think of orcs. Is just the mobs of orc boys. We look at the data sheet. Breaking heads while a war boss model is leading this unit in your command phase. The first time a battle shock test is failed for this unit in that phase, if it is within a range of an objective marker, you can choose to break some heads. If you do, one bodyguard model in this unit is destroyed, and you can re-roll that test.
Okay.
Not great.
No,
Yeah.
I've already showed my hand and I said my cards. I do think Beast Snaggle boys are going to be your battle line unit. There's not enough of distinction here from these boys unless the points are really different for you to favor these guys. You want the 6 of Feel No Pain. That's freaking awesome. The fact that these guys only go up to 20 also, the only difference here is that you have the different characters that you can put in because this unit can have 2, but Beast Snaggle boys can do that too. So if it's really what you own, if you don't own those Beast Snaggle models that give the Beast Snaggle buffs to your Beast Snaggle boys, then maybe you'll be running boys with Pain Boy and a War Boss, etc. I could see that, but what I'm saying is what's competitively going to be seen as more strong, most likely the Beast Snaggle boys themselves. But these guys are going to have viability in play just because you also have the mob rule. The mob rule to give an aura of ignoring battle shock to people. You might really want that in your army.
Yeah.
Tyranids are annoying, but as a whole, orcs don't have terrible leadership. 7 is all right. Space Marines are at a 6. So that's not bad. I'm okay with, I'm happy to see that orcs don't have terrible leadership at least.
Yeah, that's always a problem in the past.
Mm-hmm.
The Burner Boys. Next ones. Each time a model in this unit makes range attack with a burner that targets the enemy within 6 inches, reroll wound rolls of 1. If that target is also within range of objective marker, you can reroll the wound rolls instead. I like these guys in any firing deck transport. Get them up the field, shoot some flamers. You use Overwatch. People got to be careful when they move around you.
Yeah, flamers are the one thing that help the orcs because they have such terrible ballistic skill. Here you go with the flamer. You come in there, you do your thing. I love pyromaniacs. That's such a very cool thematic ability. These guys are so good to an extent as in useful ability when you get up the field that you might want to give them a mech. Depending on the kind of size of game you're playing, of course. We're not just talking 2K. I'm saying if you get a 4-up invuln, come out full wound reroll on somebody with these guys, then you have someone you can have a 4-up invuln as well on them. I'm just saying that's fun. Not saying that's competitive, but we're just going to talk about combos in general, guys. We play orcs. We just love that. Well, I play orcs mostly. We play orcs here, and we want them to just be thought of as a whole what you can do. Don't limit yourself to just what's optimally super fun, because like I said, this game, you should be playing with people that help you make the game fun as well, and think of it in a way that is fun. I like burner boys. They're the way I want to use them, and if I feel like putting a Big Mac in there to keep them alive, so be it, because they are useful enough in some matchups that they could be fun. Mind you, you do still have to have the spanners, though. So the spanner is kind of like their version of Sergeant, and the more from burner boys you get, the more you have to have these spanner guys. And the rocket launchers are cool. So maybe if you want the rocket launcher, and want to avoid some of the hazardous.
That's a good profile. Strength 9 -2, 3 damage.
Yeah, and it has more range. If you want to get a couple shots on the field. Actually, no, it's the same. Sorry, I was looking at the big shooter. Actually, as you see here with the custom blast, it actually has 3 flash shots, which I actually like that, but I don't like D6 damage. So it is your preference, right?
It's too whiffy.
Yeah. So it is your preference, and I like that these rocket launchers are not heavy. So thank goodness. Thank Gork and Mork. Right?
Let's go.
So I'm really into burner boys. So that's me. That's also why I think the 4-up invuln, 5-up invuln, could be good, because you're also going to have rocket launchers in some of these units that are going to be doing even more damage to people, and they'll be rolling wounds too.
Right, against any of these elite blobs that we might see from the Space Marine side. You can benefit from the blast roll for that rocket.
Yep, you get them up the field. You have to worry about that. And then you come in there, just spray the hose them down, get some wounds in there, and then come in and finish them off with the other units in that vehicle.
All right, we got another plane here, the Burnabama. Like you mentioned earlier, planes aren't really going to be the way to play orcs right now. This one, each time a model ends a normal move, you can select one enemy unit and moved over during that move until the end of the turn. Models in that unit cannot have the benefit cover. In addition, roll 1d6 for each model in that unit For each 6, it suffers 1 mortal wound. Yeah, pass.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna spend too much time out the planes. If you like the planes, like I said, go ahead and play them. They don't do anything necessarily that we love or that we can see that we love. They don't have great AP. They don't have great strength. You're not really going to be able to give them that +1 to hit, and just flying around when people can actually anticipate where you're going to move now is, hey, I want to move over you and do mortal wounds and such. It's like, hey, how about I just get in your way and you get dying, right? So that's why I'm not really into planes and to that extent, even though I own 3 Valkyries and I play all Contested Scions is another army I have. I'm just saying as a whole, right?
Right, yeah. There's no clear role that it plays in the army. Doesn't synergize with the rest of it, so we'll move on. WAAAGH.
I want to put my Stompa right here.
Bring them in.
All right.
Each time this model makes a ranged attack, every successful hit scores a critical hit. Still not good enough to take. Yeah, 4 shots, sustain hits 1. Just not really impressive. -1 AP. Yeah, we'll pass on this one too. All right. Next one was the Death Dread. Deadly Demise 1. It's piston driven brutality. At the start of the fight phase, each enemy unit with an engagement range of 1 or more units with this ability must take a battle shock test. So another example of an out of phase battle shock test. Looking at the rest of that, I like his T9, 8 wounds, 3 OC. I really like the 2-up save here. Put him in cover, and you got an artificial 1-up save. Let's see what he comes with. He's got the 2 big shooters and 2 dread claws. Big shooters, 36-inch, 3 attacks, hitting on 5s, strength 5, 0 AP, 1 damage. Not really impressed with that. I think if I did bring one of these, it'd have to be kitted with all the dread clauses that it can have. What is that, 4?
Yep.
4. So you get an extra attack for each one you're bringing. Looking at that profile, it's impressive. With 3 of the claws, we're looking at 7 attacks, hitting on 3s, strength 10, -2, and 3 damage.
Yep. I mean, that's what I would use them for. We want that 3 damage. You'll see that the infantry actually lack that as a whole in the army. So if you can get that from somewhere else, I also can see that the movement went up from 2 inches as well on these guys. So I really like that. They got up to T9, and I appreciate that they are a 2-up armor save. GW did not leave them behind on what I call the Carnifex tier train, right? These guys have fallen into the same category as a Carnifex or a small firstborn dread. So the fact that these guys also got tagged along for that 2-up armor save in T9, I love it. I appreciate it. I don't appreciate that they're now only in units of 1 because I wanted to run a mech dread. I like running blobs of mech armies and such. So we'll have to maybe squeeze some more killer cans in since we can only max out at 3 death dreads now. So,
all right. So I knew I wasn't losing my mind here. What does dead choppy mean? Is that a typo here?
The choppy means you get
one.
another
Okay,
attack
okay.
for
Yeah,
each
I got
arm,
you.
which is traditionally almost like extra attacks, but it's just another attack. It's not additional.
Yeah, I read that earlier. I just seen.
Yeah, so that's pretty great. It starts with 4, and then he gets 3 more. So he gets 7.
That's great.
Exploding
Depending on
6s.
points, maybe one of these makes sense.
Yeah. You know, if you,
It'll be hard to squeeze in.
I have one that I really love to use all the time. You know, they're usually not that big. You can hide them sometimes. They do move a little faster now. These guys aren't limited. They can WAAAGH, right? They couldn't WAAAGH before. That's very cool. You guys can be a part of the WAAAGH. Do not forget that if you played Orks all this time. Not too in love with the battle shock test. And if you have one, if you do like running one with custom mega blasters or like 4 rocket launchers, because some people do that. I'm aware of you guys out there, my fellow Ork players. There is a way to have someone follow these guys around and make them actually somewhat shooty. Okay.
Giving them the +1.
Yeah. So keep that in mind. Don't give up on these units because you're going to see that the mech helps you guys shoot with a lot of these different vehicles if you want to.
Yeah, that strength 9 guns are nice to have.
Yes.
Solid AP -2.
On a platform that can move 8 inches to kind of get up and shoot. Hey, what's up? So yeah, I move on from here, but keep in mind that there are ways to make your vehicles a little better at shooting, actually. At least one.
All right, next unit, the Death Killer Wartrike. Deadly Demise 1, a leader. He's the speed boss. While this model's leading unit, each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack, add 1 to the hit roll. You got high octane fuel. Each time this model's unit advances, do not make an Do not make an advance roll for it. Instead, at the end of the phase, add 6 to the move characteristic of models in this unit. So auto advance 6, moving 18 inches.
We know it's going on war bikers. We can see obviously all the utility in that with the war bikers. You need them to move. They get additional AP when they get closer, as you'll see. You want them to get +1 to hit because their profile themselves aren't super impressive because they're baseline strength 4. So you really do need them to get +1 to hit and everything so that you can at least attempt to clear out or really injure whatever you're going to charge into.
Right. These guys are really fast when you combine them with the WAAAGH and then the +2 advance and +2 to charge roll.
Just remember with Orks, you're going to be running in with bonsai charges and you're going to be dying in sequences. You want to die in a controlled rate. You want to die in waves to where you're constantly maintaining enough pressure and scoring capability that you're not getting tabled. This is one of the places where you can hide bikers, get this guy hidden behind some big ruin, cover that distance, and really either be turn 1 or turn 2 charging, taking up a lot of space, move blocking your opponent, etc. So it's not always just about killing. Keep that in mind. Space Marine players, keep that in mind as well. When the Orks are coming at you, sometimes it's just because they see that your deployment's stuffed within yourself, and they're just going to just jag you in your own hole. And they're going to love it there, and they're going to beat you up there. And even if you punch your way out, the rest of them is coming. So when you look at this, I know he's not super strong, as in he's not kill you with only his 4 attacks. I know you're not that scared of his shooting because he's generally hitting on 5s. But just know, he, in general, he helps you maintain what Orks want to do.
Right, and there's nothing more dangerous than having Orks right in your face. It's very hard to dig yourself out of that situation once they have you there.
Yes. Def Copters.
Def Copters.
So I think Def Copters are one of the units that actually took a hit. I think they actually got a little, they actually don't have Ramshackle anymore, as you can see. They're not as punchy as they used to be. Their death from above ability isn't as beautiful as you would want them to be. The nerf to overall movement with flying key models and as a whole is obviously an issue too. They don't have, from what I can see, anybody that they can equip to them that's interesting, at all. And they're a minimum of 3 to 6 guys. If you can maybe come up with one, right, like maybe a Marine attack bike, you can see why this would be kind of cool. They do have rockets, which is nice, but unless these guys are dirt cheap, you're not really loving them for any purpose. They don't really do anything you need.
Yeah, this is a pass. Didn't they also lose some shots on the rockets?
Yeah, I believe so. And you know, really, you like them because they fly Ork units. So if you really want to fly, there you go. Other than that, not that amazing.
Yeah, maybe with a few more shots.
Yes.
Not right now. All right, Flash
Gets.
The ones
So
everyone's been talking about.
So okay, I know a lot of you guys have already heard them, spoke about. We already know that if you give them their name character, we already know that they have cool abilities. We're shooting, and you're like, hey, I can give full rerolls in this situation. Remember that you're not getting their abilities when they're in a vehicle. Right?
Yeah,
Remember that.
Very important to remember.
And your enemy will know to kill these guys. And these guys are generally always expensive. I'm not saying you can't use them. I'm not saying they're not good. I'm just saying keep in mind when you're looking at these abilities and people are getting super excited from it and you're putting the name character's ability, you got to keep in mind that people are going to be sourcing that vehicle to destroy and you if you're not careful. You want it to be more of a mobile bunker type of situation, which is why I actually would put maybe a battle wagon, burner boys, and these guys. That way when people don't just shoot you and then want to charge your guys and kill you, you can act as the flamer boys can maybe act as a buffer for that since they're most likely going to be cheaper. Also, there is the mech that can give the battle wagon a +1 to hit. That will allow these guys to get their innate +1 to hit. That way you're not relying on all their abilities and everybody else's abilities. You can let them hit on 4s. You'll let them hit on 4s while the safety of the vehicle at least one turn while you move into position. Somewhere that you want to basically maybe be stationary or dismount.
Right. They still got a great shooting profile that you can take advantage of. Strength 6, -1, 2 damage. I'd take that. You also lose out on the sustained and heavy, right?
Yeah.
On the vehicle.
I'm pretty sure you just use the vehicle's profile, how it shoots. You act like the vehicle's just shooting.
Right. Without the vehicle, they'd be kind of hard to run with that 24-inch range.
Yeah, and you can get out, after you move and shoot, right? So you could, but what I'm saying is that turn 1, when you have that mech set up, give that unit +1 to hit. That's the way I kind of see it rolling out. So if you guys, I don't know if you guys have heard that or seen that as much, but the mech, he's just a mech character that no one really used back in the day with a little wrench. That guy now gives you +1 to hit. You'll see. Keep that in mind. Put all these things together. Battle wagon, burner boys, flash frigates, mech. Mech will be sitting there ready to give it to you in turn 1. That +1 to hit. You move into position. You shoot. Then you dismount, or if you need to, and move again, or you move again, dismount later up the board where you feel closer to the target you want to kill, maybe alongside enough boys and enough of your own units that these guys aren't going to get killed, and they can stand still and shoot the following turn. But keep in mind, that's the way I see them using that firing platform.
Yeah, the vehicle is key here, guys. Each time they make a target or make a attack versus the closest enemy target, that they get 4 shots. So yeah, having that mobile platform, positioning yourself to actually shoot a unit that you want to, take advantage of that profile.
As long as you know that the ability is not going to work while you're in the transport. We're just saying turn 1, keep in mind mech, you give it to them, right? Mech gives them +1 in that transport, so you can still get points out of them. That's the point that I'm trying to make here. People will spend so much time trying to use them on 1 turn. The mech helps you use them for multiple turns and not just worry about the 1 turn when you get out, shoot, and then get traded out. Okay, because you do not want them to just get traded out. They're too expensive for that. Orcs don't play for expensive trades. They play for cheap trades and reliable trades.
Yeah, there's no doubt this data sheet's going to be expensive.
Yeah, no doubt it's going to be expensive because it's on a knob profile, right? So these guys are going to get cover. They have a T5. They have 2 wounds apiece. They actually have an armor save. They're going to have an invul on the wall. So, yes.
I like too that they can fight well. Strength 5 -1 AP.
Yeah, the fact that they have choppas like their models do is pretty cool because I know it's annoying to paint on those.
All right.
And like we're saying before, we are aware of the Captain Bad Rook. If you guys aren't aware of it, Captain Bad Rook will give you re-rolls to hit rolls when he's in that unit. And like you said, with the -1 and ability to fight with those guys, he also gives an aura of -1 toughness. 6 inches. If he does end up there, which he could, based off what we've been discussing with the battle wagon, right?
Yeah, save yourself some CP.
So I know we're jumping ahead. We'll show him again, but since we're talking about it, let's keep all that in mind together.
All right, next up we got Gazgul Thraka.
Yes. Gas.
The prophet of the great WAAAGH.
So for me, this guy's an auto take unless he's priced unreasonably, which would be like 500 or something. You want him. The invuln, the super reliable ability to punch out these very annoying Terminators, these very annoying elite units that are going to be running around the battlefield challenging you. You have someone to go, hey, don't run into gas. And if you do, there's a chance that I can just hold the ground with my Makari 2-up invuln.
Yeah, the +1 to hit, +1 to wound on the unit he's leading. That's great. Always enjoy +1 to wound. Helps you take out those tougher targets.
So he doesn't just have +1 hit, +1 to wound. And then you also have the Makari banner waver ability. I love that it's 12 inches as well.
Yeah, lethal hits just helps hit those harder targets.
Which is what you're going to need if you're going to be running hordes of orc boys, right? Or hordes of just mass AP1 punches, maybe in your bikers and such. The fact that he's 12-inch aura means that maybe he can actually get close enough at some point.
Right. Like you said, it's a 12-inch aura, so it doesn't even have to be the unit that he's in. That's great.
This goes back
multiple units.
Yeah, this goes back to what I say. Orcs want to come in waves of attack. Maybe he can reach the tail end of a wave that's in front of him, and then wave 3 he comes in with his mega nods, right? But he's still touching wave 2 and giving them lethal hits. That'll be very lucky. That's why I said I like the 12-inch range.
Lethal hits and sustained hits. I like it.
Beautiful.
And as you can see, you can attach them to unit mega knobs, which would make it just overall very expensive. Probably just run him by himself.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at the Gorkanaut.
The Gorkanaut.
He's got the clanking forward. Each time this model makes a normal move, advance or fallback move, it can move over enemy units. We've seen that most of these type of units have this ability. Then each time model makes a melee attack, if you have called the wall, this battle round, add 1 to the hit roll. So he'd be hitting on 4s in the wall.
Okay. And it just says the hit roll. So he can shoot you with that Deathstorm Mega shot, which is 20 shots. Hello.
Rapid fire time.
My goodness. Making it rain. I really like that. When he gets up the field and he's time for him to do his work, it's time to do his work. I'm not saying you're not going to use him, because we don't know the points, and I have a feeling that Imperial Knights could be something that gives Orks a problem. Orks have traditionally had somewhat, not with the points of scoring the game and winning the game by points, right? Orks have always been good at scoring the mission. But if Imperial Knights keep creeping into more relevance and stronger, they really might pose a real threat to the Orks. And you might end up bringing someone like this. I don't know this exactly, but the fact that he's flat damage 6 and strength 18,
Oh, that's great.
right?
Yeah.
And he has both of these profiles, and even his sweep is very good. Also, another glow up he got is that he can transport 12 people. So if you've been playing Orks, you know that he generally only gave 6. So he doubled in his capacity, which is nice because you can put actual units in there now and not just think that he's going to be hanging around, because he's still pretty tough. T12, 30, 20 wounds. So, and there's ability to heal some of these models sometimes. So, hey.
Yeah, there's quite a few combinations you could put in there with the 12. It's 2 5-man units. You can plug character in each if you want to.
I think something missing here is that he has a 3-up armor save instead of a 2-up armor save.
Ooh.
I'm not in love with that. I'm not a fan of the 3-up armor save. I know that he's T12 and such, but he does only have a 6-up invuln.
Yeah.
So not giving him a 2-up armor save will matter when it's time for him to go against anti-vehicle such, weapons and such. So,
right. Yeah, you're not going to be able to afford to get hit first.
Yeah. And who knows? Morkanaut might be better. I'm a fan of Mork. So, everybody loves Gork, but I'm a fan of Mork too. So let's see get a peep at Mork's little Gretchen. So Gretchen, man. It's funny because sometimes the Gretchen just look just as good as the Ork boys when it comes to their relevance to an army and an Ork index/codex, right?
I love it, dude. They always had to be part of the Ork army.
I love it. And I love it because I have hundreds. So the Gretchen have 2 OC, 2 OC. So people were like, are they gonna have 0? They're gonna have 1. Looking at you, Chris Tech Lord. I'm glad that we have 2 OC here.
Yeah, they can actually reliably hold something.
And 6-inch movement.
There we go.
That's the scavenger ability.
Scavenger at the start of your command phase, roll 1d6 for each objective marker you control that has 1 or more units from your army with this ability within range of it. If 1 or more of those rolls is 4-up, you gain 1 CP.
There you go. Yeah. And with how many strats and everything you have in this army and the strat in this index, you really, really want that. There's also a little tricky thing you're going to be able to do with them that I'm sure people have already seen, but we'll talk about as well with a named character specifically that can give you a grot bomb. Yes, guys, I said it. A grot bomb. So you might end up wanting to do that. I know I'm already thinking about doing that. So, hey, you can make 20-man grot units, and I have 20 grots that are ready to go, painted and ready to fight, and the battle colors.
Is there a limit to the Steven scavengers? Like, if you fail your first attempt? If you fail your first attempt, are you allowed to attempt it again with another unit?
Yeah, you keep rolling as long as you're still on objectives, but you're only going to get 1 CP one time.
But the extra attempts, that's a benefit itself.
No. Yeah.
Oh, altogether?
Yeah, and you only get max at 1 CP. Mm-hmm.
I was just pointing out the multiple opportunities.
Yep, that's why I like it a lot. And Christian Vai says Gretchen Wolfen. That's hilarious and sadly extremely accurate.
You're breaking my heart out here, kid.
Yeah. Pow wow wow to the dog.
I think I'm gonna call it after that.
Yeah, Colin David. He's I think David just got retired. Can I get that little box right now? That you used for that, yeah.
All right, next up we got the Hunter Rig. Deadly Demise D6, 6-up Funeral Pain, Firing Deck 21. That's nice. And then its abilities: Bailout Boys. If this transport is destroyed, you can re-roll the dice when determining if a disembarking model's unit suffers mortal wounds.
Very cool. You know that you're going to want to get your Beast Snaggle boys up the field with this. So the fact that you don't have to lose some from it being destroyed, it is only T10. We already said that the Battle Wagon can actually get up to T12. Yes. But it does lose its open top firing deck ability. But honestly, with this guy has 21, but you're not going to put 21 worth of relevant shooting into that. You're just going to put Beast Snaggle boys with pistols in there.
Right, and this is going to be more expensive than the Battle Wagon, most likely.
Yeah,
so you don't want to be put too many points in one spot.
Yeah, exactly. So this serves multi-purpose because it's crazy data sheet of ability to fight with diverse, powerful weapons. It does only have -1 AP, but like we already said, this guy might actually be a good one for exploding 5 strat if you can. I don't think it's actually for vehicles. We have to check. What's the explode? Does a strat for exploding 5s come for vehicles? I should have wrote that down. But like we said, this is right here when a model is snagged, you can add 2 to the charge roll. I really like that because this guy, you don't have re-rolling charges anymore for orcs. So they gave us these +2/+2 charges +2 movement.
There's no
You really
condition.
like that, and there's no condition to that strat.
Unbridled
For Unbridled
carnage.
Carnage, that's fantastic because this is somebody with its vast profile variety, even as a vehicle, that this strat might be worth it for 1 CP. It doesn't always have to just be Orc Boys. You might want Unbridled Carnage for these damage 3, damage 2 attacks. Isn't that right, Chris Tech Lord?
How do you feel about the lack of core in 10th edition?
Core?
The lack of it.
I love it.
Yeah.
This is just an extra keyword to keep track of, and a lot of it didn't make sense on who had it and who
Yeah,
didn't.
and they excluded a lot of models that people just wanted to play and get buffed from. Now I like that it's just based off what they look like and what the model does. It's very relevant to the lore. Very straightforward. You can guess intuitively who goes where. And that's what you want to see because some people are just playing the game to love it, have fun. This takes so much time and energy already. I can't stress that enough. The way you make this simpler, yet still challenging and fun is the best way to do this game. And that's what GW looks like they really have done. So Captain Badrock, we already talked about the flash gets to an extent, which we did talk about him. He does give the reroll hit roll, but like we said, if he's in a vehicle, you're not going to get that until they get out of the vehicle. So once these guys do get out and they get their 4 hits and to the nearest that model they're attacking and he's included with them, that's great. When he's in the actual transport with them and he has his different shooting profile, that's great too. When you're giving +1 a hit to your transport before it goes away and these guys are now on ballistic skill 4, that's freaking awesome too. So he can still be used. Just how much do you want that Captain Badrock Flash Gets package really going to be with the battle wagon? How much are you willing spending on that?
Right. And if you do decide to bring him, Darippa, his ranged weapon, it's a really nice profile. 3 shots, strength 7, -2, 2 damage. Then you can supercharge it. It's also sustain hits 1. So you'd be hitting on 4s, exploding 6s.
If you have to be standstill.
Yeah, if you stand still.
Well, he also, if he's leading a flash gets unit. Oh, you get to reroll the hero. That's what I meant to say.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's a nice little shooting profile to have on a character.
Yes, it is. And if anybody in the chat has anything you want to bring up or question, maybe about matchups at any time about other factions, go ahead. If something you're worried about or think that it's not challenging enough, if you want to make jokes about the orcs and how they don't scare you, that's fine, but they will. Excuse me?
I just brought up a matchup.
Are you talking about the wolf?
Oh my god. Don't.
All right,
that's-
let's
that
roll it
wasn't-
out right now. We
that
gotta
was-
settle this right now, dude.
Yeah, okay.
My -1 AP has to count for something, dude. Those
Mhm.
paper hammers can kill some Gretchen.
Yeah. I mean, they have a 7-up. They have a 7-up save, so you could have just hit them with your feet. And it would have been fine. You could just kick them.
I'll just shed on you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and the kill rig. This one has a psychic ability. At the start of the fight phase, you can select 1 friendly orcs unit within 12 inches. Roll 1d6. On a 1, this model suffers d3 mortal wounds. On 2 through 5, until the end of the phase, add 1 to the strength characteristic of melee weapons in that unit. And on a 6, you add 1 strength, and they gain lethal hits.
Very, very nice. So he's a supportive beat stick that's also delivering. So once again, I think he's coming in as a very diverse model. The fact that he will shoot you, the fact that he will punch you, the fact that he will transport for you, the fact that he will buff you. Come on now. What else do you want one model to do for you?
I like to just bust himself sometimes.
Christian, can you note it before you poke it?
I like that he's no longer a character.
Right. Right. And I think Christian wants to say something if you want to. I seen his arm go up over there.
I mean, in worst case scenario, he can always just buff himself. But I mean, the loss of a character means he can't get any of the enhancements anymore, though.
Well, that's
That's
probably why
true.
he's glad.
Yeah. Oh, that's just more
For
points than an
balance
expensive
and-
model.
Yeah, for balance and fun, it's okay.
And if you transport anything,
Mhm.
I just don't like putting too many points in one spot.
Yeah, and orcs, you really don't want to do that, in my opinion.
All right, killer cans. These guys
Killer
have any play?
cans. I think everything has play if you wanted to, right? Because I'm an orc and orcs is never beaten. As for these guys, They come on with almost the same profile that they had. -2, strength 8, 3 damage, hitting on 4s. That's what they look like before. They hit on 4s when they shoot. That's what they look like before. They have a fun shooty power trip ability if you want to read that.
Yeah, each time this unit is selected to shoot, you can roll 1d6. On a 1, the nearest other friendly orc unit within 12 inches of and visible to this unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. On a 2-up, until the end of the phase, ranged weapons equipped by models in this unit have the ignores cover ability. That's nice on the rockets. If you're running scorches.
Yeah, exactly. And then we'll see if these weapons have different point costs. You said, are these guys playable? I think they're very slow. And for T6, which we're already seeing on multiple other units, and their movement, I don't see them really coming up too much. The fact that they have 5 thick boy wounds is a thing that they might come up for. We already know that if they get low enough on the point threshold, these guys are great wave 3. Once you come in with your squishy fly boys, your squishy grots in turn 1, and you come in with maybe your truck boys and your bikers on turn 2 with your wave 2. Turn 3, when you're coming in with the meganons and the big thick boys and stuff like that, that's when these killicans can now get in. Right? These guys also now have advance in charge. So they do have play if they're cheap enough. They're not ideal in too many situations, but I'm not knocking them because they are damage 3. And sometimes you really just want that damage 3. There's no way to give them +1 hit though, and that's where I don't like it. So I'm not knocking them completely, but it really these guys are one of those things that really comes down to points because they're sitting at that weird place where they don't do anything too particularly great.
How many points were they last edition?
About 35.
30. I said they had to be close to 30 for me to possibly take one.
Yeah. So,
all right, we got the commandos, the infiltrators, and have stealth. Their sneaky surprise ability is enemy units cannot use the fire overwatch stratagem to shoot at them.
yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we were talking about the waves of guys coming in and maybe mucking you up, stuffing you back, holding you back. That's exactly what these guys are showing they want to do just by their data sheet alone. Marines, eat your heart out. You want to overwatch everywhere. You want to flame everywhere. Hey, not to us. Not to me. Not to the mean green meanies. Sorry, I got into it. All right, but yeah, continue, David.
Yeah, we got 2 war gear abilities here. One is in the shooting phase, and you can deploy a distraction grot. If it does, until the end of the phase, models have a 5-up invulnerable. I think that one's better than the bomb squig, which is you select one enemy unit within 12 inches once per battle. And you roll a d6 on a 2-up. That enemy unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. Depending on points, I suppose. But I really like the 5-up invul, especially if you don't have anything supporting this unit. Or if you're not in the WAAAGH.
Yeah, that's why it's really nice. You're not in the wall. You have another way to have an invuln, like we were talking about, mucking people up, making them spread or focus fire too much in one spot, or put too much resources into one unit that technically used to go away just off a whim. That's cool. These guys do not sadly get up to the 3-up armor save that they used to have, but they do get still up to the 4-up armor save thanks to Orcs armor generally going up as a whole. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, another unit you could sneak in a rocket in.
Like we were talking about with the name characters with Snickrot, that's what we mean. He's getting the 5-up invuln for the unit, as you can see for that one phase when they're getting shot at. They are stealth, so they're also going to be -1 hit from what we know, and they're infiltrators. So these guys are really looking to get in position. Maybe you do a couple casualties here and there from small arms fire that cut angles on them. But especially if you have Snickrot in there and maybe you lose 3 or 4 guys, the rest of those guys can come in with the knob, with the bomb squig, and pick up that unit or stand in that place in that angle, choke point where you don't want the enemy to pop out maybe with their dreadnoughts to start walking up the field, right?
Right. So, yeah, I like this unit for early board control and just contesting objectives early on.
In a different way that's not just simply I'm running up you and not doing anything. So these guys are going to muck you up by touching you and unifying Overwatch on that. Love it.
Yeah, and don't underestimate that character because he hits really well.
Yeah.
All right, custom booster blaster. This one's got the riveting DACA. In your shooting phase, after this model shot, select one enemy unit hit by one or more of these attacks made with the rivet gun until the start of your next turn. An enemy is suppressed. While that enemy is suppressed, you subtract 1 from the hit roll.
So amazing. You love that as an Orc player. Now there's rerolls are harder to get as a whole. Sure, you get full rerolls, but not everybody has reroll 1s to hit anymore. You can get Marines or other armies to hitting you on 4s, or if it's already a 4, hitting you on 5s if they're really issue. That kind of profile is an issue. You can bring 2 of these, like Chris Tech was saying, so you can hit multiple units. That way you can spread the love and give -1 to hit. And then everybody loves that, right? Orcs don't want to die easy, and this is one of those things that controls your rate of attrition, controls the rate of your death. Oh, and here we go, talking about the Chris Tech Lord as we speak now.
No, I think my favorite thing about this versus like regular versus regular like smoke screen is this is in both phases of the game. This isn't just in shooting, so it's shooting and the time you charge in that same turn. So you load these up, right? You maybe hide them until you call the WAAAGH, and then the WAAAGH you leave them in the open, and then you get that -1 hit while you have the WAAAGH, and then none of your stuff's gonna die.
Yep.
5++ and the -1,
and you have access to 4 feel no pains on certain units that you really want to keep alive. It makes it so that when people come back to life from bodyguard deaths, you have a reason. This is more likely that they will still be alive at a relevant strength because you'll have stacking all these different durability traits, right? And this is a durability trait because the gun itself is not really going to win you the game. Its fighting profiles are going to win you the game. And depending on the points, you really will cap out as about 2 of these because you need to maintain that pressure anyways with Orcs. So, Christian, if you want to move on to the next one from there.
Oh. Is it a screenshot or what is this?
I think it's a screenshot, yep.
How do I go to the next one?
David should have told you to tab it. So.
Yeah, we're stuck, boys, until.
You didn't say that? You don't know how to do it?
No, I don't.
Oh, David should have told you. Oh, one technical moment.
Another thing about this unit is that it's 36 inch range. How do you go to the next one?
That's what I told him. David's back.
Just some technical difficulties.
Technical moment. You see it spinning. So yeah, I really like this when you're talking about maintaining momentum. You need to die at a controlled rate, and this is something that helps you die at a controlled rate. When you really see that one unit that, hey, I have overwhelming anti-infantry firepower, you're like, nah, my Orc boy mobs are gonna stay alive here. Give them a feel no pain, give them the invuln, make them -1 to hit, boom. And do not forget the strat that gives you subtract 1 to wound as well. So there is some survivability in your Orc boys with this. What? No. No, there's way too much left. Way too much left for that. And why are you turning it like that? Just move, Christian. You can see the whole back.
I was gonna let Christian sit here for a bit.
No. We'll move on. Even though you can't see it, we'll move on to a unit that isn't even that super impressive at the moment because we're having technical difficulty with this next slide. So we're going to move on to the looters, right? The looters have access to the big shooters, the def gun, the custom mega blaster, and the rocket launchers. Everybody knows the def gun. It has heavy and has rapid fire 1, base 2 shots. Its ballistic skill is already sitting at a 6. It has strength 8, -1, 2 damage. So it did go up in strength 1. It used to be the equivalent of what was an old autocannon. And each time this makes a range attack, you can re-roll hit rolls of 1. And if they're within range of an objective marker, you re-roll the entire hit roll. So if you really, really want that long range firepower, if you're willing to put some kind of Big Mac in here to keep them, give them some survivability, you could use these guys. I don't love them. I'm not in love with them. But hey, everybody likes to play differently. So what terrain you have, maybe you got big open firing lanes. This is 48 inches. Marines generally don't have great firing range with everything other than those new desolators that they got. So that's also why I'm not too in love with these guys. So we'll move on to another character, Mad Doc Grotznik. This is the one that I see is going to be most likely put into your big unit of boys, maybe even a unit of knobs. I can see this guy being in there because he's giving you, while this model is leading unit, models in that unit have a 5-up feel no pain ability, and you can fall back in charge. So that's why I like him, because some people will want to touch you and just slow down that mob of maybe 20 boys with something that's garbage if they can help it, just to stop it. Hey, this is something that if he's a part of that unit, he's not only giving their ability, but he's giving them versatility on the battlefield. The fact that you can fall forward and then charge with a mob of orc boys, that's nice. The more we talk about this mob, even though most people would say they don't have playability, you really might want to throw one mob in that battle, in your army, you know, especially because a mob can actually fit in a battle wagon. So if you're running 2 battle wagons, you never know if you put one mob with elite, one mob with shooting, or one mob with mega knobs. One battle wagon with mega knobs, one battle wagon with a general mob. That one, maybe this is the first unit that you want to get up the field and it's going to die because you know they're going to oath it right away and you're hiding the other one. So who knows? I'm just keeping it in your mind that don't knock the horde, don't knock boys just because everybody's talking about mega knobs and the other fun art units. I do like a 5-up field no pain on my boys with the 4-up invul.
Yeah, that's a lot of bodies to have that 5-up invul or field no pain.
Yep, and then you have the hard as nails strat on 20 boys. So you are coming in for subtracting -1 to wound.
Right? You got something to do?
No, Chris Tech, you don't think that stands up to the Necron Warriors? How do you feel about that with the Necron Warriors?
Yeah, how does it stack up to
that
that kind of
Warriors are getting punched out by something that's wounding them on 3s like that with such a large variety of horde punching?
I mean, I feel like Orks have always been a good counter to Necron just because they have that volume of fire just for in a single activation, because that's what it takes against Necrons and armies like that, where you kind of get punished if you leave a unit half alive. So they're always great for that kind of attack. Yeah,
and the reason I wanted to bring them Necrons because there's an army that we see that they're going to have the ability to run hordes and actually stand in the middle of the board. You want to do that to Orc Boy mobs? I don't know. Considering that they're in the middle of the board, they're going to get to you closer. So if you have a lot of Necron players, you might want to start painting up your boys because you know they're going to be bringing hordes and you might need to just straight punch one of those guys out. Put a war boss in that unit if you have enough terrain that you're not going to need it and you just rather have boss Mad Doc Grotznick because you're going to have an invul from the WAAAGH. You can just put a war boss in there. The war boss has a crazy amount of attacks and gives you +1 to hit. Those boys will put the hurt with exploding 5s and some Necrons or equivalent Necron hordes.
Yeah, that's another good opportunity to have a unit of commandos. Charge in first, no Overwatch, and then get your real unit in and wipe out that Necron blob.
And the ability to fall back and charge is what's going to stop other people in this heavy vehicle meta, transports and such from just touching your mob of boys at the very end and you not be able to fight enough with those boys. You can fall back, reestablish that line of boys and charge in and get 18 of them into base contact, right? That's why I'm looking at this over just a typical medic, because he allows you to reposition this mob of boys as it's moving up the field. So I really like that. I've always wanted that, and now that I have it, I want to try it, even if it's in a harder meta.
Yeah, you could also combo this with the teleporting character, falling back, teleporting somewhere, and then charging.
Sure.
A different unit if you need to.
Yeah. I was just
there's a lot of options.
Yeah, there's a lot of options. I'm just trying to focus on the fact that you can get optimal offensive efficiency from your Orc boys with the war boss in that unit, and then also get the mobility and somewhat different kind of durability of a 5 and a 5 on each other if you combo the war boss and the bad mech. We know there's a lot of combos, but we know where certain people are going to end up. You know this guy's probably not going to end up with the Mega Knobs. You know Mega Knobs are already going to get someone like Gaz or the Big Mech in there where he's going to be bringing people back to life. So where your other support characters kind of going to end up. If you want to bring a war boss, that's what I'm saying. War boss can come in and look good here because the war boss will help punch through the elite units in that, and then all the mass Orc boy are going to do it too. Just nasty volume of attacks when a war boss has 10, and then your Orc boys have 3 each. So, yeah.
Yeah, at this point, I'm willing to just give up max assassination points here. These buffs are very great.
Yeah.
All right, speaking of Mega Knobs, so the next data sheet we got.
These are what everybody's looking for. You're at your Mega Knobs on the shelves. You're saying these are going to solve all my problems. Praise Gork and Mork. They were unreliable before. All of that. David?
Yeah. I like their ability during the battle round. When you call a WAAAGH, melee weapons equipped with this unit have the devastating wounds ability. And they got all damage to weapons, which is nice.
And they had a strat that gave them access to damage 3. So we are going to miss that as the Orc community and Orc players as a whole. These guys also, why I say you're going to want to look at your Orc boys or knobs is because these guys aren't voluminous with attacks, right? They're all right. They have 3 like your boys, but considering the size of the unit, you're not going to have a huge swaths of attacks, and these guys are going to be expensive, so they're not going to pick up all the Necrons that you're going to need to kill. These guys are coming in to really pull down a dreadnought with the -3 AP on the kill saws, or to punch up on some elite infantry, some weak armor with that power call, getting +1 to wound and +1 to hit from gas, getting devastating wounds ability. These guys can do tremendous hurt. They have great durability with T6, which we really love to see, and the 2 of armor save. I'm really, really happy about all that. These guys are what everybody's going to look for on the orc list. You're going to see them everywhere. You're going to, especially if you see guys on the list, because he's going to be with them.
Yeah, I think they just need one more attack, and I'd feel a lot better about them.
And they do get one more attack, but you mean on top of that?
Yeah, on top of that, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, these guys are going to come with a huge price tag.
And I was going to say that they go to a unit of, they can be a minimum 2 guys. It's kind of fun.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I mean, points. If you can just fit some more 2 mega nubs, and you don't want some more stuff, hey, you got some thick little green meanies over here. That's cool too.
And you can give them each a kill saw?
Technically, yeah, they have dual wielding, like 2 kill saws.
Okay.
Right? Kind of like lightning claws. So,
yeah, so you'd have 2 with 2 kill saws.
Mm-hmm.
Coming with some extra strength, high AP.
Yes. That's 13 strength on the charge, -3. +1 to wound. They're wounding like everything on the game extremely well.
Yeah, a little skirmish unit.
So even though they have low attacks, they have the ability to wound so many things in the game and very well. How many infantry have you seen with strength 12 in this game? Right?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Oh, no, don't do it. And then we have the go out of the room when you do that. Be aware.
All right, next buggy,
Don't
the
just sit there.
Megatrack Scrapjet. It's got the drill through ability. Each time this model ends a charge move, select 1 enemy unit within engagement range of it and roll 1d6. On a 2 to 5, that enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds, and on 6, it suffers flat 3.
Yeah, I mean that's cool. I love that. You considering his melee profile is at least kind of strong, but you really need to do more, because as we were talking about with maintaining momentum and pressure with orcs, this is one of the buggies that can actually help you do it, physically do it. It can run in with its 3OC, it can run in with its punching, it can run in with its drill, try to get some mortals in there. That's why this one is, I'm saying, if you're going to go for anybody, not just because of its rocket and blast amount of attacks, but because once it starts doing a shooting and closing the distance, you're not going to be scared to put this guy in there to try to finish off an enemy unit. So I actually really still like him over some of the other buggies. The one that gives the suppression ability, the custom booster blaster, will be what you see for supportive more roles. But I'm saying this guy might be also on the list if you have points or if you're running for that theme of list, because it can actually do both. It can actually maintain physical pressure and range pressure.
Right. This one's more of a solo unit, just to go out there and harass, where the other buggy supports the rest of your army, which I'm all for.
Yep.
Just that extra durability.
Yeah, we'll see the points on these guys. We said that they're already not super durable, but the fact that he's shooting missiles, the fact that he's going to come in maybe on the wave 3 or wave 2 along with your bikers or whatever else is coming in, boys, you got to think like that. Well, where are you coming in? What general bonsai waves are these, right? Number 1 in the little softies, number 2 a little thicker, number 3 are the thickies of the thickies, right? So let's move on to the next status sheet.
Yeah, overall, what I'm liking about orcs here is the extra durability that we're seeing. AP overall in the game's gone down. You get a pip of toughness every other data sheet. You got plenty of feel no pains. Like orcs are gonna play a little different than what we're used to seeing on the table.
Yeah.
Like before, as soon as you expose your orcs, you'd be essentially shot off the table.
Yeah, and you're still gonna die, but it's gonna take more commitment from people, and they might not even have enough assets on that side of the field to pick that stuff up enough for it to come and just get the first punches in on them, which is what we want, right? Controlled death, controlled attrition.
Right. Yeah, that's gonna make every wave feel a little bit stronger. The fact that it needs more commitment from your enemy just to handle that first, second wave, and yeah, it's just like a tidal wave.
As long as points don't destroy us, that this is going to be a very fun, strong codex. It's not going to be OP and hurting people. This is going to be really fun for your opponent as well, because they can also just roll great on dice and ignore the fact that you have that, great toughness, and the fact that you have feel no pain won't save you if they put enough wounds on you with a 6-up, right? Feel no pain. So it's going to be fun for both players involved in this. Now right here with the mech, this is just a mech. You guys are like, mech. Now, yeah, he's really a mech. Some of you guys don't use him, don't talk about him, so see him glowing up. I haven't seen no one talk about him in his videos. No one really cares for him. I'm not sure if people just missed him or didn't care. Gave him 2 seconds that he gives you +1 to hit. But This guy is really cool because he can stand the way that I see him. What he's going to do is this is what I meant. He's going to give your battle wagon +1 to hit. And when he gives it +1 to hit, it's going to roll away. Those flash gets or whoever shooting platform you hand there is going to make it rain. The next turn when he's standing and you leave him within range of mech guns is the way I see it. So if this is what I'm saying, if you want to develop a shooting platform for your orcs somewhere, maybe there's a big open field part of the field in your local game store. You know that they have gun lanes that you want to shoot down. That's cool. Bring a couple mech guns. Put this guy around 3 mech guns. Maybe the mech gun have the big mech with the shock attack gun in it, and then he gives your unit a vehicle +1 to hit. Right?
Yeah, that's big.
So your mech guns are now hitting like Space Marines, essentially, with hitting on 3+ with these devastating profiles that you're going to see. And you can give your gun platform vehicles that are running around the battlefield, they can stop by this boy and get a +1 to hit if they can. And he's also healing people.
Yeah, I think mech guns is the way to go with this guy if you're going to bring him in your list. He's got to keep up with them because his ability is at the end of the movement phase. And a stationary platform is definitely going to be able to keep up with it.
Yeah, considering they only move 3 inches. So he moves 6 inches, which is just good enough to move to the next one if one dies, or whatever. But that's the way I see it. You maybe don't want the shock attack gun. He's going to cost too much. This guy's going to be, if they don't get rerolls to hit, this guy's going to give him +1 to hit. But if you do both, you're getting reroll ones to hit from the shock attack gun, and this guy giving you +1 to hit for a mech gun. So you're getting these nice mech gun profiles, possibly hitting on 3+ of rerolling ones. We've never seen that. I mean, yeah, they didn't even get bad moves in 8th edition. So that's a cool combo too that I've seen and I really like. Mech guns can be back and they don't have to be spammed. Just put 3 nice ones on the battlefield. So yeah.
Right. And for whatever reason, if you want to attach them to a unit, you can.
Mhm.
Although, you can actually attach them to the mech guns unit.
Yep.
I didn't realize that.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's very cool. I just didn't because, like I said, I want to give it to someone else. Maybe a battle wagon or whatever, and he can already get the mech one ability by standing next to them. So, yeah.
Well, how would?
Yeah, he's lone. He gets the lone operative ability within 3 inches.
Yeah, his ability's at the end, though. The movement phase.
He should be standing there, is what I'm saying. Like just stand there and then give
To
it
the
to
battle
him.
wagon?
No, the battle wagon. If someone would be maybe turn 1 where they give it to him, and when he's getting in position before they get off and do their thing. But it is at the end of your movement exactly. That's why the mech guns are the most likely when you want to use.
All right, and speaking of the mech guns, we take a look at that next. Their one ability, Splat. Each time the model on this unit makes a ranged attack that targets a unit containing 10 or more models, reroll hit roll 1.
Sweet. If you don't have the shock attack gun with you, which is the only way you're going to get the other reroll ones, this is cool when you're about to run into a horde of Necrons and you need to smash them out. Or maybe some guardsmen, if they got those 20 blobs of Krieg, something like that. You can come in here with the Smasher gun, which is really cool, but everybody really likes the custom Mega Blaster, the custom Mega Cannon, which, I can see why. D6 shots at blast is really cool, but that Smasher gun with the -3 AP and flat 3 damage, even though it's less shot, is appealing to me if you're getting yourself +1 to hit.
Right, yeah, these blast weapons synergize well with the Splat roll. You're going to get 2 extra shots on top of whatever you roll. There's 1 for every 5 models, correct?
Yes.
6 now.
6? Oh, because the character.
Put the mic on Christian if he's in the talk. People they can't hear him. Okay.
We'll have to verify that.
Yeah.
Let's
Put your hand up and let us
research
know,
department.
Chris, that we can give you a mic so people aren't left out from what you're saying. No, not too much repeating. Put your hand up.
Move on to, or did you have more to say?
No, I mean, just the fact that they can have 3. You put them in a unit of 3. That's the way I would want to see them, so they can have good, buffs and everything.
Right. On to your favorite, the Morkanaut.
The Morkanaut.
All right, tell us why you like this one better than the Gorkanaut.
Oh, you're just assuming I already do?
You kind of said earlier.
Oh, well, I like him more just because he has the ability to actually shoot down some vehicles with his profile, and then he can come in and punch them as well. That's the reason why I like it. Is the other guy's rivet gun, even though it's amazing, rivet type gun is amazing for having a Gatling 30 shots possibly. That's great and all, but like I said, you're gonna see knights around this meta and such. Even though he's gonna still be wounding them on not a great number, you can take out smaller anti-vehicle stuff and still transport those units in there as you move up the field. He has rockets and his custom Zappa type weapon. All right.
Does the mech ability also apply to melee for the +1 hit, or is it just shooting?
For the mech guy,
Yeah.
the mech character. Let's look at. I'm gonna look at him real quick. It just says add 1 to the hit roll. So yeah, he would actually, that guy, like you said, because you talk about how it's at the end of the movement, this guy might want to just stand there and shoot at the knight, get the +1 to hit, shoot the knights with this, and then come in later, turn 3 and start charging and dismounting his load and getting those shots off and attacks. So depending on points, if I had to choose between the Gorkanaut and the Morkanaut, I would choose the Morkanaut. That's me. And what else was he have for his other abilities, right?
Yeah, that's it. Just moving
Tiny,
over.
big and shooting. So when you call the wall, he gets +1 to hit also.
Yes, that one's on range though. only.
Which is what
I was
this
wondering
guy's generally supposed to be better at anyways. So that's why I do like that, because he's supposed to be the one that shoots. So I like that.
Yeah, I just like his melee. If you can make him hit on 2s, strength 18 -3, flat 6 against a knight.
Yep.
It's gonna guarantee you're gonna injure that.
Or love it.
Get it down to the last 6-7 wounds.
Yep.
So I was looking at Blast, and Blast is the same in 10th edition. It's for every 5 attacks, it's +1 attack you make with your weapon. It's every 5 models. But for coherency, it's if you have a group of 6, it's still 1 model within 2 inches, and it's at 7, it goes up to 2 models within 2 inches. So coherency changed, but Blast, the number of models you get the bonus didn't. So it's every 5 for 2. Every 5 you get 1.
Yeah, so it just makes those mech guns more reliable against those bigger units. All right, next up we got Mazrog Scragbad.
Bad. So this guy, just like the Beast Boss and Squiggles were, freaking awesome. I love him. He has a 4-up on a 4-up. There you go.
Yeah, I love this guy.
So if the other guy wasn't durable enough, this guy is. Right?
Yeah. What are you gonna do against that?
This guy is
T10.
actually the one that really destroys vehicles more so. As you see, is the bigger day is. If you would like to read that for the chat.
Yeah, he pretty much gets +1 damage against monsters and vehicles, and +2 damage against Titanic models. And yeah, straight up, no charge. You don't need to charge. You look at his profile. He's got the big Champa Jaws, the extra attacks, devastating wounds. These are 3 attacks hitting on 3, strength 7, -2, 4 damage.
Ooh, so even more than the other.
So we're talking about 5 damage against monsters or vehicles.
Yep, and Hungry Champa.
Oh yeah, and he's every time he declares a charge until the end of the turn, each time this model makes an attack, an unmodified successful wound roll of 5+ scores a critical wound.
This guy is going on all my lists, as long as he's not outrageously overpriced. This guy has potential to tear a rhino open by himself.
Oh, this is a great beastic character, man. With that,
so you put head. Oh, he can't because he has a name. I don't think you put enhancements on named
Yeah, you
characters.
can't.
So you don't put head wop of kill chop on him. You can put on the other guy, which is why the other guy is still amazing. But this guy per data sheet is amazing and even more durable. I know I really feel and see the difference of a 4-up invuln compared to a 5-up invuln. So I would definitely like this guy because of that, since he's going to be a lone operative. Hey Christian, what do you think about this guy's data sheet and his keywords and all his abilities, how they stack? Have you peeped him before you seen this?
Are you scared of him?
I think a nice thing with this guy is, even though extra attacks is normally limiting, because you have exploding hits, the exploding hits apply to those extra attacks when they're made. So there's even more chances of those devastating wounds to just pop off and just eat something alive too. So I really like that too.
Yes, he's just compounding his ability to destroy a vehicle outright without having something that just says I'm strength 14 -35 damage. Right? You have to actually roll for it, but chances are a lot of it's going to happen. It's going to be freaking awesome. It's going to feel good for you and bad for the opponent, but he will most likely be cost equivalent to a vehicle as well.
Yeah, and his main melee weapon, the Gut Ripper, has that 4-up anti-monster, anti-vehicle. Even
Very
more
nice.
synergy towards him going out and dealing with the dreadnought, wiping it out,
Yeah.
transport. Pretty much any monster vehicle you really need to take care of. All right, next we got the knob on Smash a Squig. This guy comes with a 5-up, feel no pain. He's also got the ability when leading a unit, each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack, add 1 to the hit roll. And then during the battle round in which you call a WAAAGH, this model's Big Choppa has the anti-monster 3-up and anti-vehicle 3-up abilities.
Yikes.
Orcs have quite a few tools to deal with vehicles.
Yeah, they really do.
Just to improve their chances.
I like them slightly more than Tyranids when it comes to that, really. Christian, what do you think about this, guys? You were asking about him earlier.
Am I forgetting, or did this guy used to do mortal wounds on the charge?
He did mortal wounds on the charge. I was waiting for Christian to bring that up.
So how do you feel about the loss of mortal wounds? 'Cause I noticed in the Orc Codex is there's not a lot of ways to get access to mortal wounds.
No. They do not get access to grand mortal wounds. Orcs weren't generally very used to that. This was one of the guys that was the exceptions. But when you just have mass volume of attacks, it almost feels like mortal wounds to an extent.
Right.
So I'm not missing it because my personal strategy was never too much into it. You do have the squig bombs for pretty reliable mortal wounds, though, for those places you want to put them in. They do seem to lack some precision, though.
Ooh, yeah, I don't think I've seen that once. Commandos.
Commandos. So yeah, like this guy, he's cool, he's fun. We're gonna see Squig Hog boys everywhere, so you probably can fit him on the list, and you probably will.
Yeah, you'll be putting this guy on the Squig Hog when we see their abilities. All right, Knob with the WAAAGH banner. He's got plant the WAAAGH banner once per battle. At the start of the battle round, this model can use this ability. If it does until the next battle round, this model unit gains the benefit of the WAAAGH ability as if you called the wall this battle round. So another source of WAAAGH. There's
Exactly.
probably one. Is there another source? So this,
not that I'm aware of. This is the only one.
So this guy has a lot of value to be able to have a second round of battle of WAAAGH. And then he's also got, when this model's gaining the benefits of the WAAGH, it has a 4-up invulnerable save and OC of 5.
I do really like the OC, but I think from everything we've already seen, I don't see how he's going to be necessarily an auto take or someone that really people really look to take unless you evolve the meta into saying, hey, my knobs are getting a little harder to get there. I need to give them another WAAAGH so they can get closer, get that attack in turn 4, maybe later when you really need that continuous momentum. So unless there's not other good ways of doing it, I don't see him coming in there because he doesn't even really help with melee either. So he only gets 3 attacks. So it's just, he's fine if he's low enough on points, yes. But he also only has 3 wounds, so he's a victim of precision.
Right. I mean, he's only got to do his job one time because it's only once per battle.
For sure.
I understand he's not going to be on the top of your list, but it is another play style that you can use to keep that pressure up, especially if you find yourself out of position mid-game.
Yep.
He can rescue you out of that situation.
Which is what you're going to want for the knobs, right? Someone pops your truck, you're going to need him in that unit of knobs to get in there and get that on.
And speaking of the knobs, they're next.
So these guys are one of the most glowing up units in the index. I really like it. I've always wanted to run knobs. I like how they look. I like the profiles, everything about them. I used to call them Primaris Orks because they had 2 wounds and a 4-up armor save. They were just bigger Orks and didn't cost that much difference where you can get as in wounds per model. So I really like them. And now they could look even cooler when you have a war boss attached to them for subtract -1 to hit.
To wound.
I'm sorry, -1 to wound. Excuse me. -1 to wound. We just like the fact that you're going to get your power claws in here in this unit. These guys are going to be in the trucks when we're talking about MSU attacking, when we're talking about maintaining pressure. These are the guys I'm thinking I have in mind for this. So as in for your skirmishing units on Orks, a 10-man unit of Ork boys won't be able to do it all the time. With the new meta and such, sometimes you really might need to get into that -2 AP. So there you go. Here's some A2 -2 AP and higher strength because you get up to that strength, sweet strength 10 on the charge with that.
Yeah, and speaking of units with devastating wounds, this is one of the rare occasions with the combi weapon. Can you take that on every model? Where did it say? Yeah. So you can take a combi weapon on every model if you have them in a vehicle lay some shots down
Oh,
and get some devastating
vehicles
wounds.
don't get the. I thought
Oh,
you
they
don't
don't
get the
get the-
ability when
yeah,
they're in a
I forgot.
vehicle. Hmm.
So they don't get the weapon ability either.
The
Even
war
though
gear
they're
ability.
using the weapon.
The war
Yeah,
gear.
everything in the weapon roll.
They don't get the war gear ability. Is what he's asking you.
No, like the keywords.
You get the keywords for the weapon.
Yeah, you do, right?
Oh, you get the
So you can
keywords.
get
Okay.
devastating wounds, rapid fire 1, and
Power claw then.
anti-infantry 4 up for the combi weapon. I mean, you could chip some wounds off something. You know, not expose yourself or get yourself into danger.
Yeah, and like Christian said, you lose your melee weapon for this. These kami weapons are typically two-handed weapons that Orc will carry,
Oh,
so
right.
he won't have a shooting profile if he's doing that. Sorry, I did miss the war. I heard you talking about the war gear with the lethal hits. My bad. You were just saying in their profile they have devastating wounds. Mhm. It was good. Yeah, it was still good. No, that was a good. I didn't notice that, and I do have a couple guys with combi weapons for fun.
I feel like infantry orc shooting might be a new detachment that comes out in the codex,
Okay.
because this playstyle with index doesn't feel like built for that.
No.
But definitely, if you have like a bad moves attachment, might do something like exploding sixes and shooting, or maybe give them assault if they move or something like that. But I feel like as of right now, like this is almost like pre-built, like a little taste of
You're
what you can
saying like a
improve
lot.
down the
Stop saying like, please.
down the line.
Yeah, I'm just saying. You're saying like. I get what you're saying. For sure, that's irrelevant, and that's exactly how I feel. This doesn't look like it was designed to play shooting, even though there's shooting abilities and buffs. You want that just to be a small portion of your army, like you used to do with your world eaters, where you put aside 400, 500 points of shooting to really make up for the fact that nobody else in your army shot, that all the other shot was irrelevant. That's a smart idea. That's how I see the orcs kind of being built. But the only way you see it built is limited with the mech guns, maybe some battle wagons. So yes, I agree with you. When we see more detachment rules, it could be something to give orc shooting, because even the DACA guns on the bikers seem a little bit out of place sometimes, right? I want those guys to charge. I don't really see why I care about their shooting as much, unless I'm picking off a couple wounds here and there.
Yeah, we'll have to wait till next spring to see what clan detachment abilities we get. All right, next up, another useful leader here. The Pain Boss comes with a 5-up funeral pain. And while this model's leading a unit, models in that unit also get a 5-up funeral pain. At the end of the movement phase, you can select one friendly beast snag a character model within 3 inches of this model. That model's healed and regains 3 lost wounds. Okay. Now, as war gear abilities, he can take the Grot Orderly once per battle in your command phase. If the bearer is landing a unit that is below starting strength, you can return up to D3 destroyed bodyguard units models to that unit.
So there's one of those things where I'm saying if you're going to bring a mob of 20 beast snagger boys, you're going to put this guy in there, and he's going to give them that feel no pain. He's going to give them the ability to heal, and he can possibly heal a beast snagger character, which would be ideally the beast boss on Squigosaur if he takes some damage and get a flat 3 back, which would be very nice.
And I assume they can both go in the same unit? Or is
No,
it-
the beast boss on Squigosaur is alone.
No, the war boss and
Oh, and if you're talking about the beast boss and him going into the same unit of beast
for
snagger boys.
Snaga, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at that right now to double check that they can take both, but boys can take 2, so I assume beast snagger boys can take 2 as well. Yeah, right there. So boys, it doesn't say that they can take. It does not say that they can take 2 leader characters like the boys did. So it would be him or the beast boss, it seems. Really, if you can get him in range to shoot, to heal your beast boss on Squigosaur, that's where you'll get the most return points on him.
Right. All right, and then we got the cheaper option in the Pain Boy.
Mm-hmm.
He's also got the 5-up funeral pain, not for himself, so he has to be leading a unit to gain that. Then each time an attack made by this model with its Erdy syringe scores a critical wound against a unit, excluding vehicle units, that unit suffers D6 mortal wounds. So every time he fights, he gets to do that. And then once per battle, he can also heal a bodyguard unit, D3 wounds. We look at his syringe. It's an extra attack, precision, one of the rare instances of precision. Hitting on 3s, strength 2, 0 AP, 1 damage. So yeah, the only damage you're gonna be getting out of this is from the hold still and say R. But even still, that's a very unreliable D6 mortal wounds. You could easily just roll a 1. What do you think? Is this guy worth taking? If he's cheap enough? Cheaper source of 5 up feel no pain, probably the cheapest one.
I think he'll be a little cheaper than the beast boss on foot, and he can be put with the knobs and the normal boys, which is what I think will actually make him a little bit more usable. That he can be on a variety of units if you really want to. So yeah, I think he has playability, and as I said, for the boys can take 2 units of leaders, sorry, 2 different leader units. Yes, and one can be a war boss. So that's why he can mix that, either a Big Mac or a war boss and a pain boy, etc. So he will have stacking abilities, and this is where the boys might actually stand out a little bit from the beast snagger boss. If you have run enough of them, or if you really care about that horde against your matchups at home, the boys might come and play just because they get double character traits. But don't forget, the beast snagger boys already have a 6 up no pain built in. So it's not that you don't get one. Right?
Yeah, that's a nice little pro for the boys.
That's one for the pro, the boys over the beast snagger boys.
All right, we got another buggy here, the Rucka Truck Squig Buggy. Each time this model makes an attack with its squig launches that targets an infantry unit, add 1 to the hit roll. Once per battle, at the start of any phase, select one enemy within 3 inches, roll 1d6. On a 4-up, that enemy suffers d6 mortal wounds. And same defensive profile as the other buggies.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty straightforward. It's indirect. That's cool. That's strong. People are probably going to run them. 2 or 3 in your back lines. So what else? What you probably move on from this.
Yeah, we can
People
move
don't
on.
like indirect, and they added it some more. It is what it is. We'll see how it goes. Points matter. You know what it does. It probably ruins on your games.
Yeah, I'm wondering how players are going to react at first to the Overwatch and the movement phase. Are they going to be a little more hesitant and hide their models? That scenario where indirect can come into play, and we might see a lot of it because a lot of armies do have access to it.
Shock jumps dragsta, same kind of thing. Its only real glow up is it got +1 damage to shock rifle. That way it's not just D6. It still jumps around and does its thing. Whatever. I mean, that's cool. Points again. I'm not really too into that. And then, I mean, it's cool, but it's not everything. Squig Hog Boys. These are what going to be that second wave of Bonsai, or maybe third wave of Bonsai. I think you have to feel that they're on rate and safe. I love that they have Wild Red Q ability that makes it so they ignore all modifiers to this unit's move characteristics, advance, and charge rolls. So those barb guns are going to be bothering them. These guys have those bomb squigs that Christian was talking about, where a lack of mortal wounds, which these guys are going to want because they'd only have -1 AP on their profiles. They do have the Lance ability, the anti-vehicle, and the anti-monster. So that's very, very cool.
Yeah, that synergizes well if you plug in the character in here because he's also buff for anti-vehicle.
Exactly. You can take these guys up to 6 dudes in 1 unit. So you probably want to be doing something around that if you want to hit pretty hard with these guys. They have more survivability now, so you can put that in there. They're getting up to T7. They have a built-up 5 Feel No Pain. That's very freaking awesome. So much Feel No Pain in this army. And when you get up to a Feel No Pain, you see Tyranids are spending a strat for that. Orks just have that in their T7 cavalry units that are running on the battlefield.
Yeah, and they got more bodies.
More bodies. Spreading out those wounds. Your multiple damage attacks are going to be more annoying. So, love it.
And one thing, I don't know if it was too common nights, but could these guys get cover as like bikers in 9th edition?
They could not. So this is the other thing they get cover now. Bring that up for a second.
Yeah, access to a 3-up save on 3-wound model, 5-up Feel No Pain. Like the defensive profile there. T7, like you mentioned. Yeah, you can't just bolter these guys and expect to get rid of them.
These guys are going to be on a lot of the list. As you can see, a lot of the Beast Snagger boss that's riding is going to be very cool. What was this?
Let's just make sure we stick really close to our mics because I think that's what the issue is.
Me, I'm the top guy.
Yeah,
Sorry about that. If now I'm sounding low, I'm surprised. I was doing decent.
it's calling you the top G.
I'm the top person, I guess. Thank you. I appreciate that. Anything that's going to help with our stream, thank you for talking about that. If you have anything you want to mention about any faction, we love all the factions to talk about them. So you want to hear about a matchup, feel free to say something else. I appreciate you. And then as we were talking about with the Squig Hog boys, you're going to see these guys all over the list. You love the Feel No Pain. You love the multiple wounds. You love the T7. You love this. The guys are going to come in with that second wave of momentum on your fighting, and the Bomb Squig is going to help you with these really durable units and 2-up armor saves that are all over the place.
All right, yeah, I think that's one of the clear winners of this whole index.
Yep.
Christian?
I think one thing we're going to see in this 10th edition meta is just like in army meta, we're going to see like a stratagem meta because there's so few command bites to go around and so many good strats. Like you see, even these guys themselves have access to the grenade strat. We haven't talked about it at all. That's another way to get access to mortal wounds. So there's that. There's Overwatch. There's rapid ingress. There's all these good strats, but there's so few spots to use them. So I wouldn't be surprised as list shift, so does the meta for strats that are used and brought to the tabletop.
And that's why we're bringing all the Gretchen we can. Farm that CP.
Make sure you got +1 CP for at least 3 to 4 turns. Is that still low though? I don't know how mine got low. Thank you. I think I was actually muted after I started to sneeze. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Thank you. That makes sense now. I was starting to make noise and I put it aside and I killed myself. Ugh.
Yeah, we appreciate
That's
that feedback.
disgusting. I must have been like
Channel
that for at
pony.
least 5 or 10 minutes. Ugh. Oh my God. I'm sorry. That was the first. Gotta be aware of that. Gotta be aware of that. Ouch.
That's why
Mhm.
in the future we need to buy mics.
Yeah, exactly. The mics will help us so we can hear ourselves in the future.
Headphones.
Yes, sir.
All right. Here's the Stompa.
Here's the Stompa. So continue to talk about it while he looks closely into the camera. Let's go.
Yeah. So Deadly Demise 2d6. So this is a good data sheet to use the Kareen.
Kareen. Also, he's transported 22 people. Yes, very fun. Now we know most likely might not be competitive. You know what I did notice is that little mech that we talked about earlier gives +1 to hit, and this guy can see everything.
Yes.
As we know with his towering capability, we're seeing outrageous ranges like 72, 100, and then 36 on his big shooters. I'm not saying he's going to be a meta. No, thank you for pointing that out. I appreciate you for saying that, not just running away and being like, ugh. So thank you for pointing that out. I appreciate you telling us our audio was messed up. And for that, the Stompa is here. No, okay. But in reality, like I'm saying, hey, I do think Knights could end up being an issue for Orks. I'm thinking that in the back of my head. They can see through buildings. They're going to shoot you. It depends on what terrain you have. They're going to have the profiles. They're going to have the multiple damage weapons. They're going to have the durability to take that first punch. They're going to walk over those units you want to use to hold you back. So honestly, as the Knights improve, they might improve so much more. And that's why I'm saying if you can get your Stompa for +1 to hit for shooting on this Death Cannon, so he's hitting on 4s, you get him +1 for these super rockets, and he can just stand next to that mech. So the fact that he's has to end at the end of the movement phase won't matter, right? You can run forward with that big mech a little bit, follow the Stompa for a second. He just has to be within 3 inches to get lone operative, and he's big enough to physically be hidden by the Stompa, so snipers won't even shoot him. Right. So that's hey, not saying you're gonna do it, but if you got a bunch of Knights in your meta, like we might low key too, I might actually try this with our boy that you see right here. He's gonna get that +1 to hit and start making it rain. So when you put the battle report out, don't be surprised if you see that plus, and he's gonna get +1 to hit and exploding 6s for his melee too at 18 attacks on his sweep that are damage 3 of strength 10. Hey,
you could reliably take down a little knight, Armiger Helvern, with the 46 shots.
Yep.
Did you get both those profiles? It seems like.
So hey, yeah, you get both those profiles.
Yes.
Yeah. So as long as he's not 900 points and destroying your army. So what is this right here?
So channel ponies reminding us of the combination with the squidgog boys.
Yes.
You have the knob leading them. You give him
Yes.
the enhancement to follow me, lads, for the +2 movement.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then here we go, Strat.
That's what
for
I'm
another
saying.
+2.
So this is where these guys are. They needed this. They needed this because they're typically cavalry. They're getting stuck behind things, and this is why you need it as well, because we relied on the biker speed before to come out behind from a building and run up and charge. You still might be doing that for turn 1 if you really want to get up that distance. But as you position yourself behind a building and that turn at the end of turn 1, or maybe you can turn 2 going into turn 3. All those stacking abilities that you just mentioned is what's going to get those guys to actually break the corner, run up the field, and make that charge in a reliable manner in a way that they could not last edition. There's many times where even I walked up into Grey Knights and they storm bolted me off the board just because I exposed myself as they try to run around the building, right? So that is a beautiful call. I really appreciate that, and that's why we love the chat, because all of us put together as orcs, right? All of our wall energy, the more of us there are together, the more we get intelligent, the more powerful we get, just like in the lore. That's how it's going to happen on this channel too. So I appreciate you.
Christuck?
Yeah, just don't forget too, because it's not a vehicle or monster. You can actually walk through your own models too. So if all those boys in front of you, it doesn't matter. Just walk straight through them, go for that charge.
Yep.
They're not blocking yourself now.
Yep. Ooh, another good call how it's compounding. Squig Hog boys are where it's at. They're another staple. As we're going to do a tier list for this index as well. We're going to do a tier list for all of the armies and factions in the meta, but we're actually going to do one specifically for orcs very soon, because we are an orc channel and that's what we love.
Right. Yeah, we're going to focus on tier lists for the data sheets, and then tier list for matchups for the orcs, where everyone stacks up going against our orcs.
We're talking about knights, we're talking about Necrons, and there's a reason for that, because we're going to be fighting them, and these are things that are generally fun, traditional matchups. If you have a matchup in your meta you want to talk about, we can talk about that. Come back to it later and we talk about the tier list. We'd love that too.
Yeah, guys, and just so you know, between the three of us, we have a good range of armies here, so we're well aware of a lot of different indexes and where the spot you want to go to really learn how to play against these armies.
Whoa. Well, let's go to the next unit though. I'm getting near the end here, guys. There's still a good amount left.
The Storm Boys. Another data sheet that I like. They got the full throttle ability that allows them to declare a charge in a turn which they advanced. If it does, before making that charge move, roll 1d6 for each model in this unit. For each one, this unit suffers 1 mortal wound. You cannot use this ability during the battle round in which you call a WAAAGH.
So like we said earlier, this guy plus Zackstruck, you put rapid ingress, you put the strat for E we go, you set up behind a building, you get around it, destroy the enemy. You really love these guys, maybe for scoring purposes. You love these guys. The fact that they're eligible to declare a charge in advance, not just in the wall. Like we keep talking about, orcs are like a bonsai army. They're going to come on you in waves. They're going to be wave 1. Enemy has to pick them up, chew through them. Wave 2, pick them up, chew through them. You've taken over 3/4 of the battlefield. You've now put a bunch of pressure. They've only killed so much. There's little scattered units here, everywhere, and there. These are the kind of units that are going to be coming in there on that 1, 2, or maybe even late game once you've run out of the wall, but you still need that momentum and that pressure. You might have them in your back pocket and go, here we go. I'm covering all this distance and still getting on you and stealing your objective. So Storm Boys are going to be on every list as well. You talked about with the Squig Hog Boys about how they rapidly get around the field. So do these guys, even with the fly nerf.
Krista?
So what are you leaning more towards, 5-man units or 10-man units? Because I know they used to be 15, but it looks like that's trimmed down from last edition.
Yeah, so we're going to obviously points, but I did like running them as 5s when it comes for scoring, of course. When it comes to them actually performing damage, you need them to be 10s because they're only -1 AP and they got the Champa, especially if you're going to spend the points to put Boss the Extra with them, right? So it is going to come down to your style. Right now in my heart, I am thinking I'm going to put 1, but also we need to consider how we're going to actually score. It's just how I feel in the army as a whole is that you're going to be moving so much for board control that you are going to be scoring if you're playing the orcs how they need to be played, because you're going to be controlling so much of the battlefield as a whole anyways. And if people push you back through their line, that just gets them closer to your actual next wave of 2 and 3, such as your Mega Knobs on turn 3, or maybe you have some killer cans in your back pocket because they're cheap enough. So yes. I can still see them as 10s, but if you're really struggling on scoring, these are one of those units that might just be there just so you could score or to skirmish.
Right. Just having a second unit that can advance and charge is also a nice tool to have in your pocket.
And not just the wall, right? So
Right,
you have the
exactly.
banner. That's another one, but this is one that, hey, I got to get going. I got to get there. Very nice, very nice.
Yeah, I'm loving all these mobility options that orcs have
Yes.
just to put board pressure. You know, you can make your opponent pensive about the moves he makes and even play cagier than maybe he wants to, setting up just for you to come crashing in with the big green tide, and before they know it's over.
So if you know about the lore, this index feels like the lore, right? You have these feel no pains where if they shot your eye out, maybe they blew some of your fingers off, maybe they cut your leg off at the kneecap, but you're hobbling around as the orc. That's what the feel no pain is. You got the toughness, so the small arms fire like lasgun just pops off the mega nods. You got the waves of people coming in at different rates of combat and charging, just like in the lore where maybe the speed mob shows up first, and then you got the mechs coming in, or maybe you got just a huge mob of infantry running in and everybody's making it rain fire on them, and then as they're reloading you see the mechs coming in or the trucks dropping off all their boys. This literally feels like you're reading an orc lore. You looked at a lore of an orc and then you put it translated into an index. It literally does look like that. So it's super fun and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, there's a lot of flavor in this index. All right, moving on to the tank busters. They got tank hunters. Each time model in this unit makes an attack that targets a monster or vehicle, add 1 to the hit roll and add 1 to the wound roll. Top of that, they can take bomb squidge, which twice per battle. This unit ends a normal move. You can select one enemy unit within 12 inches and roll 1d6 on a 2-up. That's D3 mortal wounds.
So Chris Tech and I are a little bit of a disagreement here. He definitely likes it, and I can see why, because we like the rockets. He likes the ability they have on there. I don't, because I typically see them being in some kind of transport, and then as soon as they get out, they start to die, and they're probably going to be quite expensive. Also, 2 of the 5 models in their unit are trying to do their own thing. You got to do with rockets, only 12 inches, and he has a different rocket profile, not even reliable because it's 3d3 damage. And then you got a guy with a hammer. So 2 of those guys, while you're shooting, probably aren't even shooting. So you're going to lose some kind of points there on consistency and reliability. So I really don't like that. That's going to be like a really mid-tier kind of army, even if they're kind of low on points. They'd have to be a steal on points for you to really like them, unless you really, really, really need the rockets. But I'm looking at just bringing a scrap jet with those kind of rocket shots, bring that and just run around and have something that can punch, stay alive a little longer, and not just be relying on you paying the extra points for a transport. You're going to want those transports to deliver these MSU units of knobs and stuff constantly pushing up the battlefield. If you're going to have anybody foot slogging, it's just going to be the orc boys on foot and the mob. So you're going to need transports probably for the knobs while your other dudes are hiding as well, because your squig hog boys and these other really cool units that need to get set up are going to be hiding in the building. So your knobs are going to need to be kind of parked in a truck, ready to jump out behind a building if they have to. You know what I'm saying? So your trucks aren't going to want someone like this that's really, really trying to stay alive too much.
Do you have a rebuttal, Christuck?
Well, there's 16 points right now. What points did you feel comfortable at in 10th edition to make them have on your list?
We can talk about that tomorrow, because we're going to talk about this tomorrow, but I'd have to see the rest of the units and everything like that. Also, that edition, they were hitting on 6s. I don't really see them getting that cheap again. If they were that cheap again, you can maybe talk about them. But like I said, I'm really trying to talk about everybody at that point, right? We'd have to look at the rest of them. So I can't say what point they'd have to be at. But you would compare them to, like I said, how does a transport plus these guys look in comparison to a couple of scrap jets?
Right, and big point you made is not everyone can take this rocket launcher, and the unit only goes up to 5, so it's not like you can plug into some extra guys to carry those weapons that you want to be shooting out of the transport.
Yeah, you're gonna. I'm really in favor of, if you do the math of 10 of these guys plus a truck, and then you look at 2 scrap jets. Scrap jets are probably going to cost very similar to points, maybe less, and the scrap jets have D6 plus 1 for their mobile rockets. They have small arms fire for their shooting. They have the mortal wounds when they charge. They have the decent fighting profile at strength 8. So I really think those guys are pretty awesome scrap jets in comparison to these guys with the rockets or the death copters. They're not where it's at either. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, tank butts just seem weaker. I'd go with 10 beast nagas plus the beast ball. Try to deliver some vehicles and anti-monster pain. Yes, we were wondering about the wounding, right? We're gonna see that they're not wounding the way we want to, but the actual beast boss does wound vehicles like you want. So I like that. And you can actually put that combo you mentioned in a kill rig, in the skill rig, and with that, you give them probably exploding 5s, or that itself gets exploding 5s to really hit the elite units hard, while the beast snagger boys kind of clean up or put the rest of the wounds into somebody and pick them up and act more as like bodyguards for the beast boss. So yeah, love that. These guys, orcs are not nearly as worried about all these transports and vehicles as much as someone like Tyranids, where Tyranids are looking around at their profiles going, well, I reroll wounds with my big monsters if I get there. Orcs are like, whatever, a bunch of my different units are just chopping you down to pieces. So
yeah, and the speed to
And
go
the
along
speed.
with those units.
Yeah, so-
you can actually reliably deliver them where you need them to go.
Yep. And like we said, we're going to talk about the mech guns here too, my friend. Mech guns are also going to help you with these vehicles if you give them +1 to hit. If you did not see that earlier, we can go back to it and pull it up again. Mech guns plus the mech. If you're familiar with just the traditional mech, that's going to be another anti-vehicle pain as well, to either chip them down or completely outright pop one before your awesome beast boss and beast snaggers get in there and start punching people out. Truck, here's the truck.
All right.
So truck, it is what it is. I like that every game's a wound. It's kind of cute. Firing deck 12. That means you can get your 10-man unit plus characters in there. There's going to be a points thing, but you're still going to want them anyways. It's just how many are you going to get? I'm thinking at least 2. Or if you're running 2 battle wagons, the number of these might go down, right? So the nice thing about them is they are quite small. Trucks are, in relative to a battle wagon, are quite small. My battle wagon has a big old death roller on it. I love the death roller. But if we're talking about moving knobs around and such, trucks are going to be what you're using to run around and move these knobs. So
yeah, you're always going to see trucks with orc list.
Yes.
Nothing's changing here.
Nope. But the fact that they're so soft and you take battle shock when you blow up is a thing. Just remember, you have the strat for mob rule. You can have a mob maybe running up the field, a couple trucks on the side of them. They pop. You don't want your knobs to be battle shocked. You print that 1 CP strat. Now all those knobs aren't battle shocked. Okay, so try to think in all together. Look at all your units. Don't just dismiss this is strong, this is awesome, this is this. Think about your terrain at home, your matchups with your enemies, who you got. If you know that maybe some of the terrain you guys got, there's big firing lanes. Okay, you can place your mech guns there. You put your mech there. You can put maybe some of your durable big trucks like your battle wagon there. And then on the other side of the field, that's where you run your mob, your horde running from building to building. And then the other side of the field, you can have your squig hog boys and your bikers that are staging, moving their way up the field. And then everybody's still getting there, but at different rates, depending on how the battlefield looks. So don't just dismiss them because someone is just so nasty and awesome, right? Orcs are fighting you like a bonsai charge is what I like to call it. We had to deal with that against Japan and China to a certain extent. That's how orcs want to be. While you're trying to dig your way out and get rid of these guys and throwing grenades and shotguns, they're still just running you over with just so many bodies or so many wounds or so much feel no pain durability. Very cool. And here we have the war bikers. So the war bikers in comparison to the squig riders, right? You pulled up that squig bog boys plus knob leading them. Follow me, lads. Here we go strap. All of that put together is a nice package. I don't know how much it's going to cost, but it does move very, very well in comparison to maybe here's the war bikers. War bikers plus the Death Killer War Trike have also very good movement, but they definitely do not hit as hard, right? Like they do not have the anti-vehicle part. But if someone's trying to hog you up with chaff, you still want to get over there. Maybe your squig hog boys aren't in position yet, or you're still waiting because you're saving up the CP to use Here We Go and the Artist Nail strat on the same turn. That's where the bikers can come in. You don't need to use strats necessarily to get up and get in that range. You can still get that charge off. You can still clear up chaff. The -1 AP makes it so you can put wounds on guys that decide to stand in the open and try to block you. People are wondering, oh, why would I care about the AP on these bikers? La la la. You want that because if you've ever played with orcs, you know that smart players, maybe if you're going against a guard player, they're going to use move, fill up that path so your bikers can't get in there and start touching trucks, start chimeras, start chucking tanks, such like that. So if you want that going on, you can shoot some people out of the way, charge through and past them, and then make up that space and actually you fill up the gap instead. So that's where the bikers can come into play with speed kills. Speed matters. last time these guys cost the same as Squighog boys.
Hmm.
So we'll see if they're still the same or if they actually cost less now. They are T6 as well, though. I like that. They went up 1 toughness too. Just want to mention that.
Yeah, that's nice.
And 2 OC.
Until we see some codex rules where they improve upon the shooting on orcs, I think this is a unit I'd pass on in favor of the knobs or the Squighog boys.
Yes. I only, like I said, unless you really think you have the space and you need to get up in there and start making up space, like with base to bases and such, you can do it. And my friend suggested the Def Killer Wartrike plus Pluto Cunning to fall back and shoot plus charge.
If you mean alone,
That's
because
an
it
enhancement.
says the ball snob on Warbike is the only one that can. Right? Or is it
No,
on
this
the
guy
Wartrike?
goes. This
Is it
guy
on the
Wartrike. This
Okay, I thought
Wartrike
so.
goes with bikers.
There's one thing I wanted to say too with the Wartrike, that big base will make it a little bit easier to get that second rank of models to fight because they can just base them. You position it right.
So as I was gonna say, you brought that up with the Def Killer Wartrike. Yes, that is cool. Mind you, your enhancement is gonna be something that's really valuable to you in your army, and so is someone like a character like a Wartrike. This comes down to how does the rest of your army work? I'm definitely not saying this doesn't work. This is definitely a viable option because I like fallback and charging too. That's why Mad Dog Grotznick to me is kind of interesting with the 20-man blob of boys, giving them the feel no pain and the ability to fall back and charge. What I want to say here is this is going to come down to, do you really want to put that in your matchup? The reason is your bikes aren't necessarily hitting hard enough to kill something outright when they hit them. So they will be stuck there, but they're also going to be stuck right in front of your enemy, right? Do you want to lose your enhancement? Mind you, bikers used to go up to 9-man units, is what I was going to say. I was thinking the same thing, just like you and your friend. But when I seen that the bikers now went down to only, 6 guys? Oh, man, that hurt my heart. Yeah, he does attach to bikers.
5.
And even 5 in the knob?
Yeah, with the knob.
Yeah. So the size of these guys going up to a unit of 6, and then you get that Def Killer Wartrike, that's just also less guys. So I have a feeling when you, like I was saying with your bonsai charge with your orcs, just think about they're coming in waves. And typically your bikers, because of their speed, are coming in like wave 2, right? Or wave 1 even. And your enemy is going to be at full power, full potential then. They are more than likely going to pick that biker unit up. So are you actually going to get the ability to fall back is what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying fall back and charge is not a great idea. I'm just saying when you're talking about these guys, how you use them, unless you're hitting a weak flank and maneuvered your way around the whole battlefield, this is one of those things where your bikers and have let me down several times when it comes to actually killing a unit, and then they end up getting picked up. And that was even with the built-in -1 to hit last edition.
Yeah, they just don't have enough strength on their profile for me. Even if you're not taking advantage of the Squighog boys' anti-vehicle, anti-monster abilities, they still have good strength to deal with those elite units, Space Marine elite units, Blade Guard, Death Company, Sanguinary Guard. So they just serve more purposes, and that's why I favor them over this. And depending on points, unless these are extremely cheap, I just can't justify taking this on top of enhancement and the Wartrike.
Yeah, I'm going to be looking for ways because we want to in general. Both of us will. We're just saying, obviously, when you look at all the stacks like you gave earlier with your Squighog riders, that's more approachable. That's something that you can see. I'm going to rely on this. I'm actually going to kill what I'm hitting, such like that. The bikers, what they give you is they're much quicker to where they can actually hit a weak flank possibly. But then you have to hope that the enemy doesn't just have so many death balls that you ran in and just got annihilated for trying to touch one of those things, right?
Right.
You don't want too many soft hits, and everything wants to hit pretty hard, and these are sadly one of the softest hitting units that we have right now.
Yeah, even against T3 armies, is it really worth the exchange, depending on how many points you're putting into this unit, just to wipe out some dark elves or admech or
and like we're saying, it's because there's other ways to provide pressure.
Yes.
We're not saying your idea of pressure is wrong. We're not saying none of that. That is still all viable and a smart way to play. I'm just saying that what are you willing to let go once you maintain that pressure? Because in most games, bikers are along that first wave of guys that come in, just like in the lore, right? When you're listening to the lore, like Brutal Cunning, where the first guys to make it into combat against the Admech was the speed wall, and they were getting blown up while the Death Skull infantry was watching them from a distance. Like that's kind of how it works as well in the game. So it's great because we like falling back and charging. I like that we have access to that. I just like to see it on something fall back and charging that has an invuln and a feel no pain, right? Then
Right.
that's something that, hey, I can actually fall back possibly, like maybe 20 boys, maybe.
Yeah, and to make it work, you'd have to stack so many things. You'd have to have the 5 up from the wall, spend a CP on the strat for -1 to wound. And then at that point, you're investing so much into one unit that is just simply not going to deliver for you the way you want it to.
And speaking of boys getting attached to things, this is the war boss that I would personally attach to, but boys. So with him during the WAAAGH, he gets an additional 4 attacks on his melee weapon. My goodness. My goodness. Because the boys, they're getting all that 1 hit, 1 damage, 1 AP, la la la. When someone comes in there, they're like, well, I'm going to put something thick into you. Yeah? Well, this guy is going to handle that thickness. He's going to definitely help along with the sergeant. And like I said, you're going to have boss Mad Doc Grotznik possibly in that unit. So even if they tag you and they hope to avoid the war boss from base-to-base contact, fall back, charge, reestablish, get all those boys into combat, right? Don't let that rhino stuff you. You get this war boss, 20 boys, Mad Doc Grotznik, you can maintain that forward perpetual momentum like we're talking about with Orks. They're going to have to try to shoot that Ork blob because they're not going to be able to slow it down, and they're not going to be able to throw boring transports and such to hold you in place. The war boss plus all the boys and all those buffs are going to help you blend.
Yeah, does the biggest and the best ability stack with the one attack you get from the WAAAGH, or
Yeah.
is that instead of? So it'd be
Yeah.
5 attacks.
Yeah.
So we're looking at 9 attacks, hitting on 2s when he's leading the unit.
Mhm.
Strength 10 -2 damage. That is a lot of attacks.
Yep. And then he gets even if you don't get 5 from it, maybe you still get 4. You do still get 2 more from your attack squig for fun. So you still get a minimum 10 attacks, even if they're a different profile. Mind you, these are exploding. And
Yes.
he's a part of the Ork unit that you can use Unbridled Carnage.
Ooh.
So this guy is going to get Unbridled Carnage with all those attacks with your Ork boys for 1 CP. That's why I'm saying don't knock your Ork boys, right? A lot of the people are starting to knock Ork boys already. I'm going to bring just knobs. I'm going to bring all this fast stuff, la la la. I see it. I see that too. But maybe you put them in a battle wagon. Maybe you don't foot slog them. Maybe you put them in a battle wagon, present them somewhere, get the war boss out, get the Mad Doc Grotznik. You go, hey, all you cool armies, you guys have all these cool durability traits, la la la. 3 up armor saves, you got this. I'm just gonna mass produce winning you on 3s, -1 damage. Bah, take that. That solved a lot of problems. That solved my problems with 3 up invulns in the past in 8th edition. So when things get tough for Orks, what you do is you put more wounds on people. So keep that in the back of your mind. If you ever run into something that's hard for you, put more wounds on it how you can. And War Boss is very valuable wounds at Strength 10. Very, very valuable. Well, Strength 11 on the charge, right?
Yeah.
So even a Dreadnought coming into your boy mob, he'll tear several wounds out of him, and then the mass carnage of Unbridled Carnage, exploding 5s, even wounding on 5s will make that difference and kill that unit.
Yeah, those are all very good points. And I think right now we're just all falling in love with all the speed potential and the data sheets that we're forgetting the boys.
Yeah.
Just go back to the basics.
It's a 5-turn game, guys. You can get in there with your bikers, get in there with the Squig Hog boys, and then get in there with your Mega Knobs, and then all of a sudden, what's left to volume fire down your unit of boys? Or maybe the boys go on before the Mega Knobs. We'll see with the meta. We'll see by the points. But I'm saying keep that in mind. Don't everybody loves to fall in love with just what's directly super powerful. Let's remember what makes the WAAAGH what it is, and that's you and me. The sport. No, I'm kidding. But it is the mass variety of boys. You get what I'm saying? So
yeah. It's a good way to get ahead of the meta before it changes, because everyone's gonna have these Squig Hog boys, a few of the beast snaggers and battle wagons and the shooty units. Armies aren't going to be prepared for the 20-man blob of boys with the 5-up funeral pain.
And the 4-up invuln.
And the 4-up invuln. And if you, depending on what you put in there, you could heal them too.
And you can have the Artist Nail Strap.
Yes.
Come on now. What's happening here? You're scared of Stormbolters? Not really. Not really. You're going to need certain. And then guess what? Let's say that there's a Repulsor Executioner, right? You hit it with the custom booster blast and make it -1 to hit. Make it -1 to hit now. Oh, someone has a very good voluminous gun platform or unit that's really made to taking out these hordes of boys. Well, how about your -1 to hit now? And I got the 4-up invuln and the 5-up feel no pain. Okay. Just saying, don't knock it till you try it, because you're gonna have all these other units that are so fast to get up in delivery. If you can bait someone's elite, expensive, maybe not super hard, durable unit to come out and punch out, maybe like you mentioned, a biker unit, right? Or to punch out those squig hog boys that just got there. These guys might come in and finish them off after that, coming in turn 3, turn 4.
Yeah, you got some sneaky durability here.
And power with this war boss.
Yes.
So this guy is very similar. The difference is he has the 4-up feel no pain, right? I don't love it nearly as much, but he has the 4-up feel no pain. I wish he had a little bit cooler abilities too, like anybody else. Mine personal one is a very cool model that I love, but he's not changing the tide of battle necessarily.
Yeah, he's not adding anything valuable, and he's most likely going to cost more since he's in mega armor.
The one thing I gotta say he does have going for him is his strength 12, but he's so limited with those 4 attacks. My goodness, that's embarrassing almost, right? 4 attacks is not where you want to be with orcs. So
yeah, he's chunky, but I don't think you need that in orcs. You need some hard hitting characters. All right, another plane here. Just talk about his ability to move on. Each time this model makes a range attack, again, it's a unit that cannot fly. Reroll hit roll of 1. War gear can take a 4-up invul. Again, we mentioned that right now in the landscape of 40k, planes aren't really beneficial to any strategy. They got a lot of limitations. There's no hover on this aircraft.
But, the fact that he hits ground units with a +1 to hit, if his points aren't outrageous, he could be fun and playable and such, right?
Yeah, there's always play.
Yeah.
All right, here's the weird boy. He's got the WAAAGH energy. While this model's leading unit, add 1 to the strength and damage characteristics of this model's Ed Banger weapon for every 5 models in that unit. While that unit contains 10 or more models, that weapon has the hazardous ability. And then he also knows to jump. At the end of your movement phase, 1 weird boy from your army can use this ability. Roll 1d6. On a 1, the weird boy suffers d6 mortal wounds. And on a 2, remove this weird boy's unit from the battlefield and set it up anywhere on the battlefield that's more than 9 inches. So he has to be attached to the unit to do this.
Yeah, I think with everybody else we've seen so far, he's not getting nearly as play as he used to get. He's not going to be nearly as loved as he used to be, but that's okay.
Yeah, he's not doing much for me. Not enough attacks. Yeah, I'd pass on him. And then we got this guy, the Werboy. He's also got a WAAAGH energy ability that adds 2 to the attack characteristics of this model's Eyes of Mork weapon for every 5 models. And every 10 models, the weapon has hazardous ability. He's also got Roar of Mork. Your opponent's command phase, you can select 1 enemy unit within 18 inches invisible to the Psyker. Roll 1d6. On a 1, the Psyker suffers d3 mortal wounds. On a 2, until the start of your opponent's next command phase, each time a battle shock or leadership test is taken for that enemy unit, subtract 2 from the test.
Yeah. Christian wants to say something.
I just gotta say the fact that these guys can deadly demise and blow up their unit is just accurate than actual tender care lore that these actual index writers put into the orcs. It's just kind of funny.
In a way that didn't make it annoyingly to play. Very fun, very cool. I like that. If people know the actual lore between weird boys and such and what it takes to become a warp head, you understand that orcs are very likely to kill their own with their psychic powers. So that's just awesome. That's just fun. As for the weird boy himself, I don't see him being that prevalent on any list. We've seen so many really cool and good characters. I just don't see a really good place for these psychers. If you're gonna have a psyker, it's probably gonna be Mr. Skillrig, right? So He also, like I said, skill ring gives you the psychic potential, the mortal wounds, the buffing capability, the transport capability. Any points that I would want to worse on a psyker, I would just put them into validating my kill rig. Right?
Yeah, it's too much of an investment to try to maximize on this guy's abilities. You'd have to run him with 10 models just to get the +4 to the attacks of his
Mhm.
gun, which his gun profile is good, but it's just not worth it with the short range and, like I said, the investment of 10 more models to go with him.
Yes.
Oh.
Zadragrog Wartsnagger. This guy, as Artware said, has the best buffing abilities in the game. It just so happens that he's given them to one of the worst units in the game.
Are they though? Their
Oh,
CP
I
farming for
guess you're
you?
right. I guess they're one of the
With
worst
these
offensively.
abilities?
Offensively, you're right.
Alright.
Offensively, one of the worst, but you're right. I love it because these guys are scouting 9. They're getting +6 to their move, and then Grots are already moving 6. So these guys are moving, just flying across the battlefield. You can use the Here We Go strat on them too. Actually, I believe I have to double check. It doesn't exclude Grots, but these guys are just moving out. And why you want this is why we said earlier. If you can just gunk up people's battle lines with all this stuff, maybe someone is really trying to put their dreadnoughts and frontline them to get them up the field and take the center of the board earlier because they know you lack anti-vehicle weapons. Well, throw a grot booger at them, huh? Throw a big fat grot booger at them and just snug them all up in their own battle lines. If they try to disrespect you, this might be a secret little weapon you carry. If grots are still around the same exact points as they were, I mean, I've valid taken 30 at any time. So, I mean, you bump that number up to about 40, have 2 on your home field objectives, run 20 of them up the field. Maybe this guy's cheap too. Okay. We're talking about scoring. We're talking about controlling the battlefield. We're talking about waves of guys in here. You can start running through buildings and touching all these dudes in places they don't want to be. They can't punch you off these guys out. They got to start shooting them. Gives your mob a unit to move up. Maybe gives your truck. Gives anything that hates small arms fire. Maybe like your squig hog riders from getting hit by all those extra shots. That's why you bring a booger bomb. All right. You bring that. You can call him a grot bomb, but I'm calling it a grot booger bomb. All right, because this guy Wartsnagger is more like a booger.
And it's gonna be one of those annoying boogers here. You got the -1 to wound and -1 to hit off the data sheet of the Gretchen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can't just bolter these guys away. You're gonna have to invest something significant. The biggest reason you're taking this guy is for that scout 9-inch.
They subtract 1 to wound, not to hit. If you said that,
I thought it was only Gretchen.
they get +1 to hit. The Gretchen get +1 to hit and +1 to wound, and then when you're targeting them, you subtract 1 to wound to them.
Okay.
So you're probably wounding Gretchen on 2s all the time. Not anymore. Wounding on 3s. If this guy's in the unit, which does matter. We know that the rule. No one's gonna put oath on these guys, and you're not just getting wound rerolls of 1. You're not, unless you're doing chain. Twin link weapons. That's the only way you're really gonna clear these guys up in any reasonable manner, to a certain extent. And like I said, you're just not using that on other things that don't want to be chain linked.
Krista?
Yeah, and I mean, this guy with the +1 to wound he gives himself, he actually kind of hits kind of hard too. He's never going to be hitting on worse than a 2 because even a -1 to hit, he's still got +1 from his own ability.
That's a good point. You can actually pull down maybe 3 infantry models in that unit.
Yeah,
right.
You'll catch people by surprise. They'll
Mhm.
have their infiltrators or scouts out there, and before you know it, they're gone by some grots.
Mhm. Yeah, because you don't necessarily need to call a WAAAGH. They just do this.
Yeah.
They just move. And last but definitely least is the mech shop. Now, unless you're gonna place this somewhere where it can't be touched, where it can't be targeted, because the incentive is I could just shoot this and kill it, right? What's the point? You give out 12-inch ability to heal people with this guy.
Okay, that's
So
something.
you can heal a bunch of vehicles if you want. Unless this thing's like 60 points, what's the point? I'd rather just bring 2 more mech guns or something.
What is the heal? Just D3?
Yeah.
No.
Mhm,
Oh, everything will go?
Then 12, yep.
You just spam some mech guns? If you want, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess.
I
man.
honestly didn't
Most
even-
people just kill mech guns. Yeah, I was just wanting to bring this up. It's cool. So I think now is a good time. If you're in chat, let's talk about any combos you heard, you want to hear, maybe that you missed, any units. We'll talk about something that I like. I would like to bring up again the basic mech, if you can pull him up again. Basic mech, and maybe talk about a couple guys that we like, because like I said before, when we're going to talk about matchups, right now Christian's here. He knows about some of his guys that are technically my rivals a lot of the time. He plays World Eaters and Chaos. He can talk about a little bit of how he sees these guys playing with Orks. I personally, like I said, the mech guns, and then you have the mech. So keep in mind when I talk about this, there's the mech, the mech is a single character that gives you +1 to wound at the end of your movement. If we can pull them up just 1 second to show them so that they know exactly what I'm talking about, because a lot of people don't talk about the mech. If you're familiar with the mech, maybe write in chat, say, yeah, 1 for we know who he is. That'd be awesome. Most people don't even think this guy built because he was only worth like 25 points before. And he just healed 1 wound before. Now he heals. He gets lone operative. He doesn't have to be a lone operative, but he can be if he's within 3 inches of somebody. And he's giving you +1 to hit on top of healing. Now, mind you, it's at the end of the movement, which is why I said you bring up the mech guns. They're a great combination with them and the Stompa or the Morkanut.
And honestly, I feel like that lone operative is a better rule to have than leader, because leader you can still get sniped from across the whole map. But lone operative you can't. So it just seems like a better keyword to have at this time, at this point in time.
Very strong keyword. And if we're talking about putting him beside the Morkanut, you can actually physically hide him also, just if you need to, right? And still give out that ability. The Morkanut, he's going to be someone's oath target. That's why I said the Stompa initially. So, but to think that you can't have a gun platform in this new index isn't true. Can you have an entire army based around shooting and win your games reliably? No, probably not. Probably not. But you can definitely take aside some points, put them aside so you can shoot the enemy targets that you really hate, don't want to interact with yet, weaken them before you get there. And how you would do that, in my opinion, is you use the mech, you maybe put them on either something super strong and durable like a Morkanut, Gorkanut, we'll see the points, or you have a pool of 3 mech guns. You can put the shock attack gun if you want in there. If you have the extra points, have the mech stand near them. He doesn't have to be a part of that unit. You can just stand near that unit and still give him the abilities. So you give yourself hitting on 3s with your mech guns if you can pull the mech guns now so they can see the mech gun profiles. You can see the mech gun ability. The profile is right here. Freaking awesome. They can get up to strength 12, strength 9. They're already hitting on 4s because they're grats. Mech makes it 3s. Shock attack gun rerolling 1s. Hey, I know it's 1 mech gun at a time, but that's an actual scary gun that can start putting damage into rhinos and all these different models that are running around thinking that they can't be shot at by orcs. Okay, and that is something that you weaken them and you come in with your beast snagger boys and you finish them off, because beast snaggers are having a hard time wounding, so you're gonna have to put some offensive capabilities on them, and that still won't outright kill something, but if they're damaged from mech guns and such, it will. Plus, these mech guns are most likely going to be cheap, and they're just durable enough that they're going to require your enemy to contribute some firepower that they don't want to into that, instead of maybe your trucks or your battle wagons. If these guys are not reliable, though, your enemy will ignore them. That's why I'm honing in on the fact that they should probably be buffed if you're going to equip them. If you're just bringing them and they're hitting on 4s, all of them each, your enemy's not going to be that scared. If you can give them +1 to hit and you're healing them so that the enemy knows that he can't just progressively put garbage into them and kill them, that'll matter. So I like that as long as the points are right. I really do like that as long as the points are right, and I don't see too many people talking about that. I like the Pain Boy plus a War Boss as well, because you're going to get the wall for the invuln anyways for that turn. Maybe you put them in a battle wagon for safety purposes if you have to with the boys. I think battle wagons are going to be the S tier premier transport due to the fact that they reduce AP. Having a skill rig or kill rig in there is also going to be really cool, because they have the quad ability where they can just, it's not a real ability. They have the ability that they serve quadruple purposes, where they're transporting, they're doing psychic powers, they're have a buff to charging when they grapple onto something. They actually charge a unit within 12 inches, and they're a punchy unit where you can give them unbridled carnage and just make them have damage 3, damage 2 attacks, not exploding on 5s.
So before even knowing what the points are, what data sheets do you see as auto takes right now? I know you mentioned some already, but
Gaz, Squighog Boys, Mazgrog, Scragbag are units that I'm really going to look at for sure right off the bat when we're talking about these units. The Mega Knobs right off the bat. That custom booster Blasta, because you really do want to try to get that -1 to hit at range at 36 inches. You want that to be nice. And but as for auto takes, I mean, like I said, that custom booster Blasta might be an auto take, because just paying for 1 might be worth doing that at that range and forcing someone to kill that stupid thing instead of your trucks and your vehicles. Hard to say what's an auto take, because Orks have such a, and Grots. I mean, I feel like Grots are going to be an auto take as long as they're not overpriced. But I don't see GW doing that. So they know what they are to us, and they haven't done that in a while. So hopefully they don't go backwards on that. So my main, maybe top 5. Let's go. I'm going to say Gaz. I'm going to say Mega Knobs. I'm going to say Squigahog Boys because all the new abilities they have to actually make good for the lack of speed that they have. Mazrog Scragbag. Very, very nice. And then as for another unit, let's say I was gonna say Burner Boys, but I'm not going to because they're a shooting unit technically. But Burner Boys are a nice honorable mention just because they got dramatically better. I'm gonna say for the 5th slot, if I had to choose, I don't want to pick another character because it's boring. What'd you say?
Oh, did you say Mech Guns?
I didn't say Mech Guns as the unit.
Is that an honorable mention?
It's an honorable mention as well. I'll
Storm
probably
Boys?
just say Storm was.
Commandos?
I was probably still gonna say Knobs.
Knobs.
As weird as it is, and that's because I like that they have the Artist Nail stratagem. They're gonna have the lethal. They're gonna have the capability to be your MSU skirmishers, and now they feel like they're gonna definitely be okay with that and be doing that in a nice, concise way, as long as they're not overpriced. So I just trust them along with the strats and the fact that you can get out and charge. These guys are going to be someone that you're going to see on a lot of lists. So I think that's going to be good. What units do you guys worry about now that we're getting on to the close to 3 hours on here? Anything you guys want to bring up or chat while you guys are still out there? Anything you guys see or know of that you guys want to talk about? Chris Tech, you're gonna have a lot of matches against these guys. What do you think? How about compared to Tyranids?
Oh, I feel like this edition Tyranids will have kind of a hard matchup into Hordes because they don't really have any super hordy things. Maybe like Raveners and units like that, but I don't know because it feels like they don't have as many attacks as edition compared to like last edition with all the units that would have multiple profiles and multiple things. Like the Warriors got toned down, the infantry got toned down, so their mortal wound input got toned down too. So Tyranids might not have the best matchup into Orks.
That's true. That's true. And Orks do have the capability to smash down these Tyranids. They don't really have that high toughness. It's good toughness, but it's not like 12, right? They're sitting at 9, they're sitting at 10, and Orks are like, me too. All right, so it's like, okay. They do have a lot of 2-up armor save, but like we talked about before, as long as you're wounding something good enough, you're going to get through that, which is mass wounds on people. Which is what my Orks are good at.
I think whoever solves the Marine matchup first is probably who's going to run out the gates, honestly, because I feel like Marines are going to be one of the easy top armies up front. So whoever can figure that out and what's good against them is going to have a good chance in like these early tournaments and events where Marines are going to be a top runner right at the beginning.
Yep, that's very true. And Orks do have pretty good play in some Marines for the most part. We'll see if that counts here. I'm thinking it really might because this T6, guys like Blade Guard are not enjoying that. The Marine shooting is either really, really weak with the Storm Bolters and the Bolters and or it's really, really strong, but you're not getting a really voluminous, good strength shots. You can get the Gatling gun at strength 6, right? But then the Orks can use their strat for Artist Nails against that, and they can make you -1 to hit against that. So how you really at range going to be chipping down and destroying all these guys outright? Going for volume of actual bodies and dispersing your wounds might really be the way with Orks because how Space Marines have Oath and they have these super killy, deathy units. So that's why I keep bringing up Ork Boys as long as they're appointed effectively right. Ork Boys might be the way where these death mob killing units where they're hitting super hard and they just don't get enough attacks. Or when you debuff them enough with the -1 to wound and -1 to hit that they can't get through the boys, or the boys just fight them in death and kill them, So, there's just so much going on here with the Orks where it's going to come down to how good the Ork player is. It really is because they're not sitting around looking like Blood Angels, where Blood Angels get similar rules, but then they're all flying, and they're all a lot of the main characters are -3 AP, and then they also have strats for +1 to wound when they hit you. So they don't have to worry about wounding, and then they have a good enough AP to get through that, right? That's how Orks don't play as directly easy as Blood Angels do like that. Not to disrespect Blood Angels, it's just it is what it is. Orcs, you're gonna have to think before you even get into the game. How is this getting delivered? Where is it getting delivered? Can it hide before it gets there? Am I just exposing myself completely so we're all dead? What are my acceptable casualties this turn? I'm going to lose this, this, and this. Am I losing my bikers and my commandos? Am I losing my booger bomb of Gratz? What's going on here? What am I throwing out? And what's coming in next? Because you need to control that 50% bar line of the board at the minimum. You cannot let the enemy of the orc player start coming in and setting the initiative and stuff like that. So, and that's the thing with Tyranids. They're almost going to have to deal with that, which you've seen that in a lot of games where Tyranids aren't that much quicker than Space Marines to get the initiative, to get the charge. Because Space Marines can charge you too, right? Space Marines now have advance and charge. So if you don't maintain that momentum with these orcs, when the Marines do that counter attack on you, they might start trying to charge deep into your lines if you don't have enough thickness or enough wounds or enough pressure. If you just go for too much shooting or too much transport or too much cute stuff, the Space Marines might blow through that wave 1, touch into wave 2 with their advance and charge, and then your wave 3 doesn't finish them off and they just clear you, right? So that's how I see the Orcs is really going to be the controlled death. I'm going to have to put points aside to make my 4 Feel No Pains on my list. I'm going to have to put points aside possibly for a couple transport, but not too many. And I might have to go for these boys because I might have to go for all these guys that have multiple damage. There's a ton of 2 damage attacks everywhere in the game. So I might just have to start looking at that in matchups and say, hey, these guys don't have enough 2 damage attacks to even clear my horde. Right? So then that might be the way because I still do have the 4-up invul and I'm not just relying on the Feel No Pain. At least that range.
Right, and the way
Or
the
the 5-up,
5 phase
sorry.
works now too, you'd be fighting first unless they have fight first.
Yeah.
Like a GGCR.
And if they do, you find death.
Yeah, and you fight in death. So you have tools to get to play into the Space Marine matchup very well. Orcs have always been a toolkit army, and with the characters in the right spots, the synergies, you can make your own MSU units strong enough to hit Space Marines and win out on the trades.
Yeah, win out on the trades, or you hurt the unit enough to where they can't finish picking you up, and then you can hold them where they're at. They can't start moving to their side of the board. They have to use their fallback and charge to charge the same unit that they just try to get rid of, or they're shooting on that and they can't finish off the next wave of guys that are coming in. So yeah, if there's anything you guys want to bring up, Channel Pony was bringing up some good points and everything with his combos he's bringing up. That was really helpful and really cool. Really appreciate you. And any stuff that you and your friend want to bring in more of, I'm definitely not trying to go against how you guys play. We're just bringing in more perspectives because all together we are the WAAAGH. All together, that's what makes the great WAAAGH. There's clans. We all have our way of fighting. We all have our way of skirmishing. We all are going to butt heads all the time. But in reality, we're all just one big happy faction. We all like to war it out. We all just want to be crumping the best way we can crump. And I just think that the shooting isn't going to be the optimal crumping way. But that doesn't mean you can't put some damage on people with shooting if you put aside 400 points of your shooting. Chris Tech, is there anything else you want to say?
When are you going to go over those World Eater rules, Eddie?
We'll go over them when we have one viewer left.
Well, we asked you. You can bring up what some certain things you
we-
see in the matchups
yeah.
against Orcs, and you just said,
You can bring them on within the context of Orcs.
yeah, it's all good with me. Anybody can bring up other factions while we talk about it related to Orcs. We don't mind that at all. Come in, bring up other factions, talk about how they're going to beat up the Orcs, because honestly, Orcs has never beaten, so even if you said it, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah. I think those commandos are going to come key in a lot of matchups.
Okay.
Like Thousand Suns. Thousand Suns have a ridiculous amount of damage output. And with the Overwatch strat, you definitely don't want them getting extra shots on you. So those commandos against them, I don't know, possibly Necrons too. I'm hearing they're very potent.
I mean, and just the good old Tau. That just destroys Tau, honestly. It just ends the matchup right there.
Yeah, I hear Tau's not in a good spot already, so we might as well bury them while they're so low.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm looking forward to this and tomorrow, the points. So for anyone that sees this, we appreciate you. What do you think? We're going to cut it probably?
Yeah, we're going to cut it soon. But join us tomorrow. We'll make a list live together, work on some strategy, see what we can do with the points, what makes sense, come up with different variations. And thank you, Channel Pony, for the support. Like I said, join us tomorrow and we'll go over some list. Maybe you could share your list and we'll give you some
Yep.
feedback. You know, together we'll grow the WAAAGH stronger.
Yep. And we'll always remember that first spore, that first other boy, wild boy that grew up with us. That's you, Channel Pony. You're going to be that wild boy along with us that we see. And we look back and we're like, that's that knob. Look at him now. You know what I'm saying? So don't hold back on us. So say whatever you want. You helped us with the volume. I was muted. You know, I was sitting over here looking like a get. So yeah, I deserve. Thanks for being nice about it. But yeah, we're gonna do this. We have look. If you want to know Channel Pony, we have access. We'll just go through it right now, so you know. As for my personal armies that I already have painted up and ready to go, I have custodes. I have Tyranids, majority monster mash already done. I have my orcs, obviously about 6,000 to 7,000 points worth of orcs already painted, and I have Imperial Fist that I already painted as well, Terminator heavy in there, because we want to see how orcs do against all that 2-up armor. So we don't want to see that. That's about 30 Terminators in those Imperial Fists as well. Then as a channel as a whole, we have other access to other armies like World Eaters that are very almost done being painted. We have Angron commission painted in there. We also have the GW terrain, official GW terrain. So that's going to matter a lot when we're presenting everything. And for the armies, we have Thousand Suns that we know about. We have Guard that is almost on the way of being done. So we have general knowledge of a lot of different armies. We play Grey Knights over here, Necrons, even though no one likes them, they're over here. So if you want to know about matchups, how people want to do in them as well, you can bring that up too. If it's your own local meta, we'll help you come up with strategies that go up against your own local meta, because that's the point of the WAAAGH. That's the point of this channel. That's the point of WAAAGH Tactics. A lot of other factions have all these competitive or all noteworthy channels that help each other and talk about tactics. Orc players, we just enjoy existing so much that we don't have that. And the people we did have, like Mad Doc Grotznick, Seth the Mad Doc, he's just not around as much anymore. So we're coming in to fill that void, and we really would like it to be relevant for this edition, because we're going to have these rules, we're going to have the codex coming in, and all we need is more spores to be spread slowly and increase the wall, and all of a sudden it'll be the next great wall.
Yeah, it'll be one to remember. And for that tier list, we'll be doing that tier list on Saturday, looking at a afternoon stream. Depending how tomorrow goes, maybe we'll do it tomorrow too, get that started. But yeah, that tier list is gonna focus on orc matchups, how they stack up against the competition. You know, the other 28 or so armies in the game.
Yep. And if you can, anybody that has it in their heart to bear with us a little more of the growing pains, subscribe with us. If your heart can bear these growing pains, if you can chew on these little spores, these little mushrooms a bit longer as we get through these caps. But hey, we're having fun, and we just want the WAAAGH to grow, and we want orc players to know that there's a place for you guys to come and talk about the game, talk about everything you guys can imagine with factions and matchups and hobbying. We love all that, and I've always felt like orcs were kind of left out. We didn't have a home for that. We're all divided. You see them everywhere in comment sections. You see orc players everywhere. Your local communities, people have them in the back of their closet, but no one really goes somewhere to just talk about orcs as a whole. So we're going to talk about orcs as a whole.
Yeah, and we're committed to being consistent with the content, constantly improving every time we come out. So like my cousin here said, bear with us, and we'll deliver. We'll be your one spot to go for anything orc related.
Yes, sir.
All right, and you guys have a good night.
Have a good night. Appreciate you, Channel Pony, the first of our many wild boys.
And we expect to see you this weekend. Take care.
WAAAGH!